All right, boys and girls, we are here for my birthday. Thank you all very much for joining in the live chat. Oh, done. Seth says his mic and camera not connecting. Done. Keep trying. Beautiful boys and girls, thank you all very much for joining this celebratory stream. As you can see, I am quite jovial right now. We're going to have a very good time today. And for me, this is only the start of the celebrations because I actually have my actual birthday party in a few hours after this. So, excuse me, my nose. And then the music will touch more. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Sweet as. Now, as far as I'm aware, music is not copyrighted. Like, you can freely repost it, but just in case. Good to see a lot of people here. First super chat of the night is from Ben, Cleave to Antiquity. You absolute legend. And he says, happy birthday. Thank you very much, King. You're an absolute legend. And hey, actually, you know what? I got something I'm going to pull up real quick. If anyone is oh so inclined towards getting me a birthday gift of some kind, the best birthday gift that my legendary fans can give me is becoming a supporter on my site. Get some very cool benefits with it. And with the new rush of content, very consistent at that, the supporters, as they are right now, get some very cool bonuses. They're getting a lot of awesome stuff, research documents, exclusive essays, this, that, and the other. So if you want to wish me a beautiful happy birthday and want to get me a nice gift, become a supporter today. Okay, shilling is over. We're here to have some fun, boys and girls. Oh, yes, I think someone here wants to join, someone else who I think expressed interest. If you want to join, sweet. All right. Oh, man, plenty of people in the chat. Man, so many. Wait, 40? I'm super. I saw the number 26 in the phone. Yes, I'm 26. It's just this goy over here, this silly goy, is trying to age shame me. Unbelievable. Thank you, Sal, for the wishes. Or Samuel. If it wasn't daylight savings, I'd say it was too early to be drinking. Mate, it is a crisp 9:30 a.m. in the morning. It is perfectly time for drinking right now. Reverend Brandon War, thank you very much for the wishes. Happy birthday to the Utter Paul, that classic Jedi insult. Thank you, Russ Belts. Happy birthday. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you very much for the birthday wishes. Hey, people, if you haven't already, check out Ethan's channel. Check out his inaugural Why I'm an Anglican stream, where he actually goes into fantastic detail on theological authority to such a depth that so many people don't. But I'm very happy to see that he is. And yeah, go show him some love. Zach is in the house. How are you, big man?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I'm not actually Irish. Well, I am technically. Happy birthday to you.
I thought you were doing Chinese stereotype. You're racist.
No, I was doing Irish.
No, if you want to do the Irish accent, it's more like this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, you silly git. Go back to Britain. Seth, my man, good to see you.
What's up, guys? Happy birthday, Paul.
Thank you very much, King. Thank you. Oh, man, the fun is just beginning, boys and girls. About to get lit in here. Well, it just was. Now it's going to be a little bit more sober. But we still have the 9:30 a.m. alcohol in the morning. So that's how you should do it. Joseph, thank you very much. Hello from Twitter. This isn't the actual party. Well, this is the actual online boys party. Hey, nice. I saw that. But my IRL mates party is going to be happening. Yes, exactly. This is one of those hats, my man. Man, so many birthday wishes. Wait, you're 26, man. You were born in 99, really? Yes, I am. Few know this.
It
but
was a
hopefully more
surprise to
do
me
now.
too. I was like, wait, I thought you were older than me. And
I always love getting that surprise from people. I've been getting it since like my high school days because I got my beard really early, like when I was 15. Basically, it was very patchy, but I had one at 15.
I can see it now. You're just walking around, just good day, mate. You want to hear about Anglicanism?
in some people's minds, it's more like, oh, you're not, cuz. Do you want to learn about the Anglican tradition, bro? It's so good, yalla habibi. How are your days going, gentlemen?
Good, pretty good. I just got home from the music store. I just picked up a 5-string Ibanez, so I was pretty stoked
Sweet.
about that.
Very
I saw
nice.
Seth had a
Yeah.
a bass back there.
Yeah, I've got a 4-string Ibanez.
Bass.
Very nice. Very nice. What about you, Seth? How's your day going?
Yeah, going pretty well. We not too busy day at work, and I worked a little bit on our new intros we're going to be using for our videos.
Ooh.
Very nice. That's the way.
Yeah.
We have
Yep.
We have another guest. Oh, sorry, you're going to say more, or
No, that's it.
sweet. We have another guest, first timer, the Reverend Brandon Waugh. Hello, boss. How are you?
Oh, we couldn't hear us because headphones weren't on.
Oh, yep. Hello.
I heard Ibanez and I just came coming. How's about it?
You are really quiet on my end. I don't know if it's the same for you guys.
Yeah,
He's really quiet.
Are you a Sabian or a Zildjian guy? Or do you use paste?
Or like off-brand Chinese knockoff version.
I'm a Zildjian guy. No, I don't think he can hear us though.
That or he's about to just absolutely destroy both of us.
Can you hear us, Reverend?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you're quiet on our end. We can hear you,
you're
but
like
you're quiet.
really quiet. You're really quiet.
Hold on.
Oh, he's gone.
He said, "Hold on one sec." So he's probably
Nuke
doing
from orbit.
something.
Well, it was good.
Man,
You got your
so
bass. I have electric guitars. He's got a drum set.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I would have my drums. I guess you can't see my drum pads really that well. They're perfectly in line with the bar right now. But I have my tenor drum pad back there.
Nice.
That's mad. As for me, this, as you can probably notice, is a new purchase.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, nice.
A wooden icon, handmade by an Australian studio and made from Tasmanian blackwood. So it's very much all local. It's really, really nice.
Who is it?
Jesus, our Lord.
Okay.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
you can't
Yes.
see my icon so much. Yeah, you're much better now.
Much better.
Thank.
Good to have you,
When I
Reverend.
first came in, I said, when I first came in, I said I heard Ibanez and I came a running.
He's a
Yeah,
runner. He's a track
we were wondering
star.
what symbols you use. Do you use Sabian or Zildjian?
Oh, these are Wuhans actually.
Wuhan's. Hey, oh, you're right, Zach.
Yeah.
I've had Wuhan.
Yeah,
symbols before.
this is the Koi series Wuhans.
It seems like this stream is becoming the Lutheran Drummers Appreciation Society.
Yeah. I nearly did music. I did a minor in music in college, but I decided I was gonna, not subject myself to the life of a musician.
Nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
definitely don't do that. It's horrendous. It's almost as bad as being a pastor.
Yeah. Real.
Thank you, Quetzal, for that super chat. Just cracked a white monster. Happy birthday, Paul. That's the way, boys. That's the way. I wish I had one for this morning, but I'll have to settle on for my actually locally produced honey mead. It's actually really, really nice. It's from Mudgee. Very nice stuff. Very beautiful. Happy birthday, Bestie. Oh, thank you very much, Becca. Good to see you here. Happy birthday, Paul. With Steph and Brandon Ward, didn't expect some of my favorite Lutherans to appear. I am also Lutheran. Thank you very much. Now we need some more Anglican representation. I hope some of those boys are coming up. We got myself. We got Zach.
We gotta get one more.
Joe?
We gotta outnumber them.
Exactly. We have to. This is the Anglican supremacist stream, after all. This is the way.
The Lutherans
Oh,
are
no.
in the trees, boy.
Sick as. Yeah. So, I don't know. What are you up to, Father? Well, Reverend Brandon, whatever you prefer.
Well, right now, trying to reorganize and get the studio actually running. I decided to schedule a stream for next week, and then everything has bugged out on me. I got to order a new graphics card. Right now, I'm running an old 1050 GTX, which is horrendous. So that's
old.
probably why. It's probably why my audio wasn't working too well when I first came in, because I've just redone everything this week. It's been horrendous.
That's rough.
Yeah,
Mate,
I'm
I've
running
been,
a
I've been
1050.
thinking I need an upgrade, but even I have a 2070 Super
Wow, that's a
RTX.
lot more powerful than what I got.
Well, I
have
also
I have a
run.
1050 Ti. That's old.
Okay,
1050 Ti.
that is old.
Yeah.
I run Linux
Wow.
too, so it's not easy.
Okay, yep, that makes
Torture
sense.
yourself.
I actually want to, with my next system, I want to have a dual boot thing for Linux and for Windows, because I want to make, in terms of just everything, I want to make a full transition to Linux. But there's some stuff I need, like my video editing software, DaVinci Resolve, which still needs Windows. So I'll have Windows for that. But then for everyone else, everything else,
You can
Linux.
No, you can run DaVinci on Fedora, Nobara. They have a
I
lot
heard you
of
can, but I heard it's way more like limited and like chugs along a bit.
yeah, a little bit. There's some file and encoding and everything that's a little off there, but I mean, it works fine for me. But I switched over to Kden Live a while ago just because I don't do anything fancy. I don't do anything fancy in my videos, so.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's the thing with me. I do a lot of fancy stuff with my videos, as you guys can see with my latest products. And pressing question here: does the propeller really spin? Yes, it does. It does, my friend.
He
This is how
says as he about rips it off of the hat.
this is how I wind up my intelligence. The faster I spin, the more scholastic I get. And that's how I'm able to win my debates. It's only when I don't have the hat that's when I lose. Actually, that's every debate. Oh dear.
Oh no.
Oh man,
Hey.
beautiful stuff. Oh,
You guys have all these paid services for your editing software, and here I am being the cheap brokey I am using Microsoft Clipchamp. Not because I can't afford a editing software. It's just I'm just that guy where I'm like, oh, the day I pay for an editing software will be, the death of me, and I'll probably get it in like a month or something like that. But the Clipchamp works. So
there you go. Yeah, I mean, if it works, that's the ultimate thing. It's a lot of people can often treat it as like the means are an end to themselves. Like, oh, get DaVinci or get Premiere for its own sake. But it's like, if for what I'm doing, I only need like hell. Like, if I only need Windows Movie Maker, why not? If anyone still uses.
I would like to get
As it happens
better
for me,
stuff. Yeah.
As it happens for me, my purposes are genuinely very, very fancy. So that's why I use DaVinci.
Yeah, I mean, I want to use like better editing software later on just to do cool stuff. But it's like, again, I'm just that guy where it's like I'm just purposely cheap just because I'm stubborn. Like if you
That's
want, I don't know if I can stream
I mean,
in here. I could like show you like my newest introduction that I've been working on too. Since Seth said he was working on his.
You can share the screen. I'll be able to pull it up. And with that stuff you want to do with like that kind of analog horror aesthetic, like if you want to get really
That is
advanced
a great
with that,
aesthetic.
DaVinci, it is. DaVinci will be really good for that because that's where the more the advanced effects come in. Color grading as well. DaVinci is really, really good for that.
The workflow on DaVinci. The workflow on DaVinci is really good once you get used to it. Once you get used to nodes and stuff like that, it's really, really smooth.
Yeah, that's the main thing with if you're doing fusion for the effects, the node thing definitely takes a bit of getting used to because it's a totally different logic to layer-based editing. And so for the main clips and all that, like for the most part, I'll actually tend to use the edit page. But if I want to do some pretty advanced effects, then I will go into Fusion. And if you get used to it, if you internalize how the logic works with the nodes, it's fantastic. It's amazing stuff.
Let's see.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, get that. We need a stream. We need a stream where like all the Scholastic boys are in. Myself, you, Seth, other Scholastic Lutheran guys, Christian Wagner, Kevin, this and that, and we just all have the propeller hats on, and we just talk about the most ridiculously granular Scholastic issues. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be a sight to behold? Oh man! While you're getting that, Kden Live mention. Paul would have beaten Jimmy Aiken with the spinner hat. Those who know, know. Oh, man, true. If I did, I would have just absolutely bodied him in the first sentence, if only. Oh, well. Christian Wagner's
No, go ahead.
Christian Wagner's monkey plus propeller hat combo would go hard. Oh, yeah, he would outclass Thomas Aquinas himself. He'd be like, you know what? I don't need you anymore. I'm just going to make my own stuff.
All right. It's like 50. So it's kind of the introduction, a little brief thing, and then like it finishes the introduction. It's about 50 seconds. Is that chill?
Yeah, easy.
All right, sweet. Share screen. Yeah.
Propeller had a Super Mario Bros. Thing, I think, for one of the games. No.
Yeah, I believe it is.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Tell me if you can hear this. Did you hear that?
No.
No.
Rip a Roni. All right, let's try it.
Did you select the option that says share audio window thing, share window audio or share application audio?
Maybe not. Let me.
So when you go back to the share screen thingo and do what you do, and then make sure that's selected. Actually, actually, it's let's see if this works. If not, then I'll know the issue.
All right, let's try this again. Nothing.
No, not hearing anything.
Right.
Try. What are you sharing application window or entire screen?
That time was entire screen. Last time it was application window.
Yeah, it won't do audio in entire screen.
Oh, that's my problem. All right.
No, there is actually an option when you do entire screen for StreamYard. It says also share system audio. Okay, so it should if you select that.
You see, StreamYard won't do that for me. I've tried a million times. It will not do it. Not for me, at least. They don't like me.
Oh, okay. I see where it says use Chrome if you'd like to share audio with your screen.
Oh, okay.
Let me try this. I might disappear for like 2 seconds.
Much appreciated, Wayne. You absolutely legendary supporter. I'll absolutely keep fighting the good fight. Happy birthday from a Commonwealth cousin listening in from the backwoods of Northern Ontario, Canada. We need the British Empire 2.0 immediately. I heard King Charles went to conquer Rome recently. Real? So true. He's kind of lulling in the Pope with a false sense of security. Oh yes, we'll pray together. Yes, ecumenical dialogue. We're going to mend past conflicts. In actuality, he's setting up the British fleet in front of Rome as we speak. At least that would be the good ending, but oh well, that's not the world we live in. So many birthday wishes. Thank you all. There's so many birthday wishes. I can't really show every single one of them, but I much appreciate them. I much appreciate every single one of them.
I'm going to disappear for 2 seconds.
All right, all good. All right, well, let's just chew the fat then. Seth, what's happening for the Scholastic Lutherans coming up? I heard you said you're making some new intros.
Yeah. We're going to do seasonal intros. So depending on liturgical season, we're going to have a different introduction that will be both tailored with editing style and with music. We're going a different direction musically, but we had a lot of people requesting that we switch out our intro during Lent in particular, because our current intro is the old TLH, the Lutheran hymnal, Alleluia tune. So the Alleluia that gets sung before the gospel reading, we use that as our intro. And people wanted it, not that for Lent, because during Lent, the Alleluia is buried. So we decided we would, actually just go full into it and just do a different one for every season. So I edited together most of the Michaeltide intro today.
All right,
that's really cool. Is that going to include like the actual logo will look a bit different depending on the season as well?
The logo itself will stay the same, but the intro video is going to be different. Like the intro video itself is going to not just change music, but I'm editing the intro videos to like match the music. change based on things that are happening in the music. It's edited down. We're going very different music style, so I think
That's
be
really
fun.
cool. I'm very keen to see that. Very, very keen. Happy birthday to Sawyer and Right Response. Thank you very much, Jeff. You're an absolute legend. And if people didn't see that, I was just on Right Response Ministries, Joel Webbon's channel, discussing myths about the Reformation. And actually, I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but I gave Scholastic Lutherans a shout out for people to go there if they want to hear myths about Lutheranism debunked. So that was that.
Right.
And
It said I could share audio, so tell me if you can hear the static noise.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, muted.
You may have heard it, or you may have even said it yourself.
I'm spiritual, but I'm simply not religious.
But what does a phrase like that truly mean? There you go.
Okay,
Nice.
I won't lie.
Nice.
Genuinely nice. I think there's a bit of a dissonance between a intellectual video on why does I'm spiritual but not religious, why does that not work, versus the horror, the analog horror aesthetic. It's a bit of a
Oh yeah.
bit of dissonance, but if you can make that work.
Yeah, I mean, I tried something different with.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I tried something different with my women's ordination video because I was like, oh, it's kind of analog horror-y and kind of a YouTube channels that I get inspired by are this guy called Virtual Carbon and this other dude called Nexpo, and I'm like, what if I took their kind of creepy expose type of stuff and make it about theology and Christianity, because it's I'm never gonna be the really top high notch scholastic guys as much as I want to be, but it's what if I do my deal?
It's local 58 for theology.
Yeah, exactly, because it's you don't really have a horror Christian theology channel because it's oil and water, but I'm gonna try it. It's gonna be my niche, and then when I do live streams,
I don't know
normal and everything, but
I almost
it's a reminder of public broadcasting back in the day when you'd flip through on at 3 a.m. with these random preachers at 3 a.m. and it's always bad audio, it's always bad video, and you could make up an analog horror just from that alone, 100%. Just from those 100%. Old clips and everything.
Yeah,
I almost feel with the thematic, shall we say, clash, but again, if you can make that work as a niche, mate, fantastic. But just as it is, as a new thing, the thematic clash, it's almost you have that same horror analog aesthetic, the low background rumble, the static, brief flashes of creepy uncanny valley faces just flashing up, and it's just a slow build up of tension, and then you just hear a deep dark voice say, "Can you drink Coke while swallowing Mentos?"
Is it a concupiscent sin to drink Pepsi when you're on a Royal Cola diet?
Or is there a distinction between God's existence and his essence?
Today we will be talking about a philosophical idea. Space, is it gay?
Mary had a little lamb, and it was white as snow.
How that rhyme defines the perpetual virginity in Reformation writing in the 1700s.
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soda.
I just make everything the complete opposite. So instead of a 3-hour Roman Catholic video on trying to debunk Gavin Ortland, it's
30 seconds of me debunking Christian Wagner. Number one, he isn't Ford tough.
And it's like that's just the end of the video. It's like
You should give your viewers absolute whiplash. You have that creepy horror analog opening, and then it transitions to you. What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about.
Hi, gang. It's me. How's it going?
So I did.
Hey, friends.
Oh my god.
No, but it's like I did it with the anti-women's ordination video, and then it was like because I had the idea of like talking about like the upside down cross, and it's like I did really like lean into the analog horror where it's like everybody sees the upside down cross and gets all panicky about it, but it's like I'm giving you the horror aspect about it, but it's like while I'm simultaneously telling you how it's like not actually a scary thing. It's just Hollywood and a misunderstanding of the history of the cross that makes it all spooky. But it's like, you know, I kind of, as you were saying, I kind of give you like it's horror, but it's actually not horror because I'm teaching you something, but it's trying to get your attention that way. And like I said, it's something new and I wanted to try it. So I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah, we did. You've definitely got the aesthetic down. Mate, if you get Da Vinci, you could like take that up to the next level. It's great.
Well, now you're gonna make me buy it.
No, have you seen? There's a guy on YouTube. I can't remember his name. He's like James Lee or something. He does a lot of Da Vinci animation and stuff. Okay. Let me make sure I got the name right. Yeah, James Lee Animation. He does a lot of Da Vinci animated stuff, and he's got kind of like that, almost like a comic book horror aesthetic, where it's like almost like The Mask, like. Actual like horror the mask, not Jim Carrey the mask. So that's something that you might want to look at as far as like something to be inspired by to do Da Vinci Resolve.
Yeah, write that name down. That's good. That's good. For me, I actually, most of my learning in Fusion, there's this one channel. He appears to be like the Buddha of Da Vinci Fusion, Casey Faris, Casey Faris, and he just has like billions and billions of tutorials on like every aspect of Fusion, and he's very, very good and helpful. So I definitely recommend that.
Okay.
Oh, $20 super sticker, mate. Abbott, thank you so much. You absolute legend for that. Hugely appreciated. Thank you for that gift. DoorDash Thomas, lovely to see you. Happy birthday, bro. I'm likely to be called gay in an upcoming stream. What? Who? By us or by Eric? I'm very curious. Oh, also, did you want to join? I'll send you the invite link. I don't think I sent it to you. I'll send it to you right now in case you do.
I would say, speaking of Eric, did you see my little blink and you miss it?
Your what?
In the intro, did you see the little blink and you missed it about Eric?
I saw that. I saw his little interesting face.
Yeah, it's a video about the I'm spiritual, not a religious thing, but I will spoil it a little bit by saying this is also an advertisement for that video.
Nice. That's true. Yeah, it's that guy. His channel, for those who don't know, have either of you two Lutheran guys heard of him? Catholic Christian, Eric McCabe.
Yep, I'm familiar. Not like super familiar, but I've seen it before.
I think I've seen a little bit, yeah, but I'm not like a avid follower.
As far as I'm aware, his greatest claim to fame is getting absolutely like doctrine mogged by Sean Luke in their debate on, what was it, Purgatory? Because they debated on that, and so Eric's Romanist, Sean's Anglican, but the whole time Sean was like, look, you're disagreeing with your own church's doctrine. He was just showing how like he knew Romanist doctrine better than McCabe, and he just got really, really salty from that. And speaking of a relevant party, Michael, how are you, mate?
Hey, pretty good. I'm literally out door dashing as we speak, so I'm just going to keep the camera off. So, how you guys all doing?
That's the way.
We're pretty good.
That's the way, mate.
Yeah,
for those who don't know, he's quite literally living up to his channel name, DoorDash Thomas. So, much respect to the grind. Yeah, awesome stuff. Well, how's the door dashing going? Have you made a nice killing already?
I mean, $111, so I'll take it, right?
Okay. Not too shabby.
Get that bread.
Yeah, you got to, man.
That's
These
right.
niche YouTube theology videos don't exactly pay the bills. You know what I mean?
You don't say.
Unless you're Christian.
I think everyone here knows.
Wagner.
Yeah. He's like the one exception to the rule, though. No, if you see Eric, he has a upcoming stream at like 9 o'clock about Catholic men who are obsessed with others. So I assume that it's most likely going to be him whining about my video that I did on him because he tried to make an absurd claim that an atheist can have implicit faith.
He actually said that. For those who don't know, it's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. You can have implicit faith in something in which you don't even have
Any
faith in any aspect of it.
Yeah.
Well, I like how he is trying to go after these Catholics, and this is kind of a spoiler to the future video. Sorry, I'm selfishly plugging all my videos now, but it's like he'll make this whole thing about like, you know, Catholics, they're talking crap about me, this isn't fair, da 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 da, and then it's like his video on Gavin Ortland. He's like, Protestants are at it again. It's like you're literally contradicting yourself. Dude. It's like, what are you doing? So I'm gonna comment on that part.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to Paul about this in DM. I'm like, dude, like, it'd be like if you guys were like, well, Kevin is obsessed with Protestantism because he has like 20 videos critiquing Protestants. Like, if the arguments suck, then who cares? If they're worth responding to, then refute the argument. Stop whining on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a really silly standard as well, where he says, in the first 17 seconds of his video, he's talking about Roman Catholicism and not actually arguing for sola scriptura. It's, bro, have you ever like? That's like the context.
It's called
of the
introducing the topic.
Exactly. That's literally the context of the debate. What do you think? What do you think he's doing? Why do you think he's talking about sola scriptura for? For shits and giggles? For like, there's no reason.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I tried to be as respectful as I could in the video, but if he wants to result to like bringing up like, because he did a stream where, so Pine Sap and we did a stream where we kind of like were making fun of him because he did this whole like hit piece on Nick Fuentes and Groypers, and like he was like calling out Catholics for being quote unquote homophobic, and so like, dude, if you're calling out Catholics for being homophobic, like, don't be surprised if people do a stream to make fun of you. And then he did this whole hit piece on us, like quoting us and accusing us of like slander and
That's
stuff
the video
like that.
I'm pulling from.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, that's the one where he's like, maybe you should get to know the person first before you start making like claims about them and stuff like that.
Well, I did know him personally, and yeah, I mean, he brought up some like some personal stuff that obviously maybe the audience wouldn't allude to, like some like weird stuff of like he was like, oh, you told me these secrets that none of your other friends knew, and I'm like, well, I mean, that's not true, but like, okay, whatever. If you want to tell some people that I was struggling with my vocation because I had a crush on someone at my parish, so, okay, whatever, I don't care. But,
that's
yeah.
it. Seth, didn't you guys? Oh, actually, really, really quick. Hey, Paul, I have a stalled project currently working full time on building a house, so time is short. Based on Mary's assumption, will you look at it if I send to you if I ever finish it? Yeah, happily, I'll 100% do that. Now, anyways, Seth, that reminds me. Didn't you guys, the Scholastic Lutherans, have this weird hater for a while ago, and you guys like responded to him on stream?
I don't think so. Did we?
I think it might have been what's his name? The other there's you, and then there's not Noah, Cameron. I think Cameron. He may have been the main one to respond to it. It was like this email or letter or something that you guys got from like a guy who was like opposed to your positions or something like that.
Oh, there was like a meme video kind of. I think it was one of like the subscriber specials or something like that where Jared like reads the email on stream.
That's the one. What was that one again? Was that like a hater or something? Or
I forget the exact context of that one anymore. I don't remember. I just remember it being someone who had like ridiculously wacky ideas, and we thought it was kind of funny to kind of just make fun of him on stream.
Base. How about do you guys have like any other particular like haters out there, or just not really?
I don't think we do really. We try to not be super involved in like the apologetics sphere, I guess you could say, and making enemies. not for the sake of being like doctrinally weak or loose or something like that. I think you'd be silly if you thought that based on our videos, but just because we don't really find the space to be always that helpful. I mean, we engage in it sometimes, of course, like, you know, we do a little bit of apologetics here and there, but we just generally don't find it to be the most productive sphere. And frequently the back and forths are just like reiterating the exact same basic argument from pop apologetics, like from 10 years ago over and over again. So we don't have a ton of haters, I feel like. Occasionally in the comments, we get like dispensationalists not liking our dispensationalism video. Those are like usually the most radical comments we get, are people like calling us heretics for not believing in dispensationalism. But that's like usually that one specific video about the errors of dispensationalism, and everything else is like, you know, people critique us, I guess, but no big enemies.
I'll start a rivalry with you guys, and the whole premise will just be like, silly Lutherans, you claim that Jesus is under the bread. Why is your Lutheran God claiming people under the table?
Oh yeah. Hey Lutherans, if Jesus is under the bread, then why does the Bible say that the Father put him over all things? Huh? I bet you can't answer that.
Silly Lutherans. If Martin Luther is your prophet, why does John Calvin exist?
Yeah, well, you know, I think we could make a lot more enemies if we wanted, but we just don't. Also, a lot of us, you know, we don't want to get in like hot water with anyone either. Like, you know, we could, you know, talk about X, Y, or Z like controversial topic of the day, but you know, a lot of us don't see a real need to always, and it seems like an inexpedient way to proceed.
Yeah, that's great respect. You guys have a really good position that way, where you're a team channel, so that's already very unique. But then you're also very deliberately much more positively oriented. Like you'll have some like negative apologetics of like refuting this or that, but you're otherwise much more just with the positive articulation of things and letting that build your brand, get information out, education, and yeah, you got very minimal hot water. So that's a great position, 100%.
Yeah, I could learn a thing or two probably.
Play, right?
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm glad that Seth is being he's being very diplomatic, because I lean on the non-diplomacy as my crutch. I do not have a personality.
I was gonna ask, how do you do your content, and what does that look like? Do you have any haters and all that, or?
I've had haters. One guy, I refuse to mention his channel name, but he mobbed me on Twitter because I did a live stream reacting to his Dr. Seuss papist argument on. He basically had this argument about the Dr. Seuss company, whatever company puts out Dr. Seuss, those are the ones that decide the canon and everything. So Sola Scriptura, it's a illogical argument. So I'm like, actually, like, Dr. Seuss determines what is in the Dr. Seuss canon. It's because he wrote it. And it's like, it's an easy argument to knock down. And after that, I got so many messages on Twitter, so much stuff. And I was misrepresenting him and all this stuff. And he said he was going to sue me and bring my video down. And it's like,
what?
Look, I'm just responding to a Dr. Seuss like argument against Sola Scriptura. I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm sarcastic. I'm a little bit brash, but I don't think that, I mean, you're kind of taking it a little too far. It's a video about Dr. Seuss. Come on. Like, seriously.
You debunked my argument. I will see you at.
That's flipping mental. That's insane. So if I'm looking at your channel right now, how to be a dumb Christian featuring Dr. Seuss and Chris Tomlin.
Yes,
that's the one.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
No, and he wanted to sue you over that?
Yeah. Well, it was misrepresented. It was slander against him and his argument, apparently. And apparently, I didn't know this at the time, but apparently this guy's also went after James White and done the same thing to him, because he featured one of his videos on, I guess, the dividing line or whatever. So, yeah,
if he's an IQ test and he's like, you know, room temperature, then you could say that wasn't slander. It's just accurate.
Maybe.
I'm surprised he never came after me, because actually, for my channel, if people want to scroll back, that's whoa, Michael, feedback.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
All good, boss.
We were past the analog horror stage. I thought that sounded like another analog horror thing going on.
It sounded like the mimic, that entity. But no, that was actually, if people want to scroll back in my channel, I think one of my first live stream response thingos, and definitely one of my first collaboration ones with actually a guy who was in the chat earlier, Jeff Robinson, a Goy for Jesus, great guy. It was in response to one of his videos, and I think it might have actually been the Dr. Seuss one. It actually might have been that one or another one on Sola Scriptura. Never had any of those threats against. He commented, he tried to argue against us. We went back and forth, but he never. And we were we mocked him quite a bit. From memory, we were quite harsh against, and I think rightly so. I don't regret it or anything, but just yeah. So I never got any of that from him. That's maybe it's because I'm in Australia. I don't know. Maybe you couldn't figure out a means.
Who knows? Who knows?
He just brings you to the UN.
True. He's gonna bring me before the Hague. That's what's gonna happen. Real quick, Andy Bales. This legend was my very first financial supporter. Love this guy. Happy birthday, Paul. May the Lord bless you this year with much fruit for the kingdom. Good on you for calling out the Gospel Coalition on their nonsense recently. Love you, man. Thank you very much, Andy. You absolute legend. I'll always appreciate your support of my content. Absolute legend. But yeah, with that was a stream I did not too very recently, specifically against the Gospel Coalition was like the main concrete target, but it was against the whole Big Eva thing in general, with how they treat these political matters, where they'll use kitty gloves with leftists and progressive projects, but then they'll punch hard to the right when they see things going out of line. Then I was basically saying, look, guys, read the times. That's not the case right now. The left, broadly speaking, and if I may be a bit imprecise there, is the threat. Like the big, bad, naughty far right guys are just they're not the threat right now, even if you think they have horrendous views. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Can I mention something too? Like, this is something that after watching your video, I was thinking about it, and I thought about doing a video of it. I got to figure out how I'm going to go about explaining it, but I started thinking about, you know, the Young Restless Reform movement and the gospel-centered movement back in the day, and how that's kind of, in some sense, paved the way to ones like TGC doing this whole kid glove thing with the left, because I think it wasn't very much of a worldview movement as much it is just buzzword movement in some sense, if that makes any sense. The gospel-centered movement kind of ironically took Jesus and put him a little more to the left than what they probably should have. They were more concerned with coming across as being gospel-centered rather than Christ-centered, and rather than worldview-centered either. They didn't really have a robust worldview, in my opinion. So maybe that's why the trajectory has gone the way it is.
No, you're completely correct there. And I'll even say, this might sound controversial to some people, because especially those of us in the Protestant world, we're very used to saying that the gospel is the doctrine of justification by faith alone. And while that's integral, properly speaking, the gospel, the good news that Jesus brought, was the coming of the kingdom of God. That's fundamentally what it was. And in their minds, what did that entail? That entailed material, social, political change. And we can see partial fulfillment of that throughout human Christian history right now. Obviously, it's not complete, but a lot of it has happened. And so for them to make it such like an empty and toothless, what would you even call it? I mean, I think the term often thrown around very rightly is, what was a moralistic therapeutic deism or something like that? Mm-hmm. Something along those lines, where it is functionally, well, God, like they'll pay lip service to the idea that, oh, God works in the world, he ordains history, especially if they're reformed. They'll say, oh, God's sovereignly decreed, everything happens, and blah. And I say that because they'll say that on one hand, but then in terms of like, okay, so let's get some material political change towards the will of God, they're like, oh, whoa, man, calm down.
They'll ironically
completely deprive the gospel of actual teeth.
ironically, they were a lot of them in the early days were very much against the moral therapeutic deism. But when you have a gospel-centered movement that's focused on a formula of the gospel that is not rooted in a biblical worldview, then you're going to end up with moral therapeutic deism. I mean, that's just what it is. The gospel becomes a formula that that they like to use to say, no, we're doing things exactly the way we should. We're doing things like we're trying to be fair, and it's just not that way at all, because they don't have a worldview to pull from. They don't have any sort of actual grasp of the entirety of the teachings of the scriptures. So I don't know. I got to figure out a way to get all of my thoughts together into a cohesive unit to make a video on that one day.
I will say, I think the whole idea that Big Eva, or just evangelicalism in general, was going to be something that was going to hold the fort and last a long time as a force for strong scriptural truth was probably a pipe dream from the start, because the whole movement, even from the beginning with like Christianity Today and Billy Graham, like starting and say, I mean, you could push evangelicalism back farther than that, but in its modern instantiation, evangelicalism it was literally made as a moderate movement to split the difference between the liberals and the fundamentalists, because a lot of people didn't want to be associated with fundamentalism or thought that fundamentalists were extremists or stupid or things like that. And so they wanted to not be fundamentalists, but they still, generally speaking, had a high view of scripture. And so they made, like, that's what evangelicalism was. It was the camp that didn't want to be fundamentalists, but still wanted a relatively high view of scripture. And it was founded as a moderate movement for that reason. And so the idea that it was going to be this conserving force is just silly. It was inherently a moderate movement. And as the center shifted left, they shifted left with it, because it was inherently trying to be a respectable movement that was distancing itself from the fundamentalists of whatever stripe.
Exactly.
Very true. Whoa, big super chat just came in. Samuel Trott, thank you so much, man. Happy birthday, Paul. You owe me an answer, Cheekby boy. What sources do you recommend from the 1st, 2nd century ecclesiology in relation to elders and bishops, thinking about the differences in Presbyterian and Anglican views? Cheers. I remember, were you the one who sent that super chat for, I think it might have been the Big Eva stream or another one, but it was sent before the stream because I had to delay it. And I was intending to bring it up and answer, but unfortunately it disappeared, so I couldn't actually bring it up. And I think I might have mentioned that on stream. If that was you, then 100%, I think that's what you asked here. I'll answer it, but also because you gave another super chat, I'll let you ask something else as well, whether here on stream or elsewhere, and I'll treat it like a super chat because I much appreciate that. Thank you very much. And yeah, for those who are wondering, if there's any echo on the stream, that might be me, because I don't have any earphones. Whenever I use them, they completely mess up my mic settings for some reason. So I'm going to be getting a pair of wired headphones sometimes, so it doesn't. But anyway, so that's probably me. So whenever I'm not talking, I'm going to mute myself so there's no echo. Anyway, what sources do you recommend for the 1st, 2nd century ecclesiology in relation to elders and bishops, thinking about differences in Presbyterian and Anglican views? Cheers. For primary sources, I most recommend of all the Apostolic Fathers, Greek texts and English translations by Michael Holmes, 3rd edition, published in 2007. So I'll say that again, the Apostolic Fathers, Greek texts and English translations by Michael Holmes, 3rd edition. That has basically all the primary source texts of the first and very, very, very start of the 2nd century AD Church Fathers, including a number of those texts that are very relevant on those debates, like First Clement, the Didache, Ignatius of Antioch, maybe a couple others as well. But all those texts are there in English text as well as in their original languages. Further, the editor, Michael Holmes, he gives introductions to those works, and he gives a small bibliography of recommended secondary scholarly sources to read for more detailed commentary on those works. So that's the thing I 100% recommend to you first of all. But as if you want secondary scholarly works on those things, let me look quickly. There's Alistair Stewart, Alistair C. Stewart, the original bishops. So he's an Anglican scholar, and he specifically forwards the thesis that how would I even explain it? That in the earliest New Testament ecclesiology, on the one hand, bishops and presbyters were the references to the same people, but in different ecclesial contexts. So bishops referred to actually what he argued to be monarchical parish level leaders over the church. So on the congregational or parish level, he argued that there's monarchical episcopal leadership before there was the idea of like a diocese. But when those local senior pastors, if you will, when they met together in a regional synod, they became presbyters. Now, I'm not fully sold on the theory, but his book is really, really, really good for his discussion of all the primary source evidence there of the New Testament, early first and second century sources. So I strongly recommend that book as well. And as a final recommendation, I'm just looking at my library right here. I can't think of any other secondary source text off the top of my head, but I recommend definitely look for the relevant passages in Irenaeus of Lyon's Against Heresies, because there are some relevant passages on that as well. But do any of you gentlemen have recommended books on that?
No, I'm usually a primary source guy. So, I mean, I have the Lexham Apostolic Fathers. That's usually what I use, or that or Philip Schaff. I mean, you can find his stuff online and everything. So,
if you want a really
Inquisitor's
bite-sized, if you want a bite-sized like little essay about it, my bishop did an essay called "The Bishop's Rights and Responsibilities in the Early Church." So, that's something to just look at, just to start dipping your toe in my opinion.
Fair enough. Anyone else, or are we all good?
I think my bishop also might have written something, but I'm not sure if it's online or not. I'll double check, but you can go on without me.
Too easy. And Michael was probably going to recommend some popish nonsense, so we'll just leave that where it is.
Very funny. Wande Torquemada, Summa Dei Ecclesia. If you can
Say that again.
Wande Torquemada, Summa Dei Ecclesia. Well, I mean, that's not even a patristic work at all, but yeah.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for that recommendation. Another super chat from Attack Dog. Nah, it's just quinky dink. It's just a coinky dink that St. Peter appropriated the words the Romans used for Caesar to Christ. Being Christian doesn't involve socio-political change, man. Just your heart / sarcasm. Very true. So true. No, it's total coincidence. When the apostles use and when Christ himself appropriated such political terminology, it's plain and conspicuous that they only meant like the king of your heart, the king of your personal disposition. That's all they meant, obviously. Duh. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah, well, that's why the Romans were killing them, right? Because it was totally not a political threat to the Romans at all.
No, not at all. No. It was they just really concerned about the internal heart disposition of every single citizen in the empire. That's how Rome worked. Yeah. Thank you for that super chat, Attack Dog. Good to see you. Happy birthday, Paul. And hello guys. We have another. I'm so generous. I'm gonna split this with you guys. We have a definitely real $1,000 super chat from Becca. Absolutely incredible, insane. This has made my week. This is the best birthday week ever. Thank you so much, Becca, for that absolutely real gift. That's crazy.
That's $1,000 worth of shares in Enron.
Truth nuke. Hey, he has an ear, let him hear. If anyone knows the lore. Thank you for that absolutely real super chat, Becca. Oh man. With that said, before we get into more messages,
wait, before you go on, I want to. There was a chat that I wanted to answer really quick. Someone asked, when did you know Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior is a problematic statement? I have to answer that because the shirt I'm wearing of David Hinkle, he has an entire book on why that statement is problematic. It is called Against Thomas More, and David Hinkle completely dismantles the Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior thing. It's great. If you're into some early American Lutheranism, check out David Hinkle's work, and especially his work against Thomas More and on baptismal justification. It's he completely dismantles the whole, oh, when did you personally come to know Jesus as your Lord and Savior thing. Read David Hinkle. He will dissuade anybody of that.
Base. There you go. I remember. Oh yeah. So myself and my Anglican friends, we have a fortnightly Anglican reading group. We just go through whatever selected work we have for our Anglican divines. And by the way, I do recommend that for everyone here. If you're in one of like the magisterial traditions, especially, get a group of your local friends of the same tradition: Lutheran, Continental Reform, Presbyterian, whatever. And get them together and just meet up every fortnight at like the pub or whatever, and have it organized that, okay, we're reading this book or this section of this book. We're going to read it before then. And then we're just going to talk about it and digest it together, like at the pub, over drinks, over food. That's, I say this with 100% certainty, with 100% seriousness. Those simple things, just having a pub discussion with mates on theology, on scripture, on Christian life, is easily one of the single most edifying Christian activities, period. Even more so than, and I can't speak for everyone here, maybe you guys have like amazing pastors who have genuinely fantastic sermons, but I would say it's probably the norm that most pastors in their sermons are just like, yeah, they're all right, I guess. But these gatherings with your mates, just at the pub, or even at your house over a few drinks and discussing these writings by our spiritual ancestors, are some of the most edifying things you can ever do. So I highly recommend everybody do that. Anyway, tangent over. We were reading, we're currently reading through Jeremy Taylor's work, Holy Living. And we're on one of the chapters, we're specifically going through the section on charity or love. And one thing notable he talks about is how with Christian love to God, it is something that concerns both the soul and the body. And so it's both, we love God with all our heart, with all our soul, in terms of our disposition of trust, in terms of our open declaration that he is Lord, he is God, and obeying his commands in that way. But it's also with our bodies. It's also something with our bodies where in how we act, the way we worship, everything in our physical life is also that kind of expression. It's not just something you just assent to and that's it. No, actual perpetual love and worship of God is something that physically manifests, and that can't be avoided. So, yeah,
So that's one reason why the liturgy is so important.
Exactly.
Why ancient liturgy is a key. Like, and people don't realize how much that actually really forms you, really forms your worldview, and it forms your piety, all of that. So yeah, that's why the liturgy is one of those things, especially with Lutherans. We've got to hold on to that liturgy, that historic liturgy.
Yeah, that's what really attracted me to the Book of Common Prayer before I became Anglican, was just like, I grew up in an evangelical setting where it was kind of like the worship was directed at the crowd, but kind of seeing it go the opposite way. And not only just like we're watching kind of one guy do the whole thing, it's everybody as a communal liturgical service is worshiping God in one way, and it's all like pointing up and this way to me. And again, like having that Book of Common Prayer there as like your like mobile liturgy services, like this thing is fantastic. And so that's why that was one of the reasons that drew me towards a magisterial denomination like Anglicanism.
Well, and going to what you're saying there, like one of the most beautiful things in our liturgy, the proper preface with angels and archangels and all the company of heaven. It's really embodying that communion of saints that we are worshiping in the continuity of the church, which really, I will defend and love the liturgy till the day I die.
Yeah, like and even just changed my perspective on on the Bible as well. Like before I would look at Revelation 4, be like, oh, this is such a cool passage, and Revelation 5 on top of it, it's like, oh, these are so cool. But then it's like getting into that liturgical mindset and then just rereading Revelation 4, it's like, oh, I get it now. And it's like, man, if this is going to be a heavenly thing, it's like I gotta practice down here, so when I get up there and join the company of, as you were saying, the angels and the archangels and all the saints involved. It's like, man, it's gonna be great. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
That
But
bit
there's
in
another
our,
thing-
we have that same thing in our liturgy as well. Oh wait, you just mentioned it, Zach. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, where it says exactly that. With all the company of angels and archangels and the saints, we humbly proclaim, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God of power and might. Heaven and earth are full of your glory. Glory to you, Lord Most High." At least in the contemporary language. But yeah, beautiful
Yep.
stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we got another one. Scribble, 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 scribble. Happy birthday in Arabic, mate. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Bro's a fake Arab.
Happy birthday from
Doesn't
Reformed
even read
Catholic.
Arabic.
I can't yet, unfortunately. Some point though. Some point. Oh yeah, Reformed Catholic. If you want to join, just give me the say so, and I'll send you a link. Romans 8 Shaman, absolute legend. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you, Becca. Thank you so much for that absolutely real super chat. That was it. It paid my rent. It did all that. I sing the liturgy DS4 often. Love the LSB liturgy. Divine Service setting 4 is my absolute fave, but DS5 is also a lot. Very cool. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sydney stuff. Sydney lore. I heard that Moore doesn't teach the liturgy much because most of Sydney Diocese is not very liturgical. Oh, yeah. The unfortunate state of the Sydney Anglican Diocese right now, if people don't know already, which if you're a fan of my channel, you should because I've talked about it a lot, is that it is unfortunately hyper evangelical to the point where most parishes mostly have contemporary services, and pretty much all new church plants within the diocese are exclusively contemporary. The church buildings themselves are deliberately made to look like modernist garbage, not at all distinctively Anglican. And just overall, those new churches, like if they didn't explicitly tell you, you wouldn't know it was Anglican. So that's very much the norm. Things are changing. Things are slowly starting to change now. But yes, that is unfortunately the case where the norm is that the Sydney Diocese basically suppresses Anglican identity, even in the college. Like in the seminary, more seminary, you'll learn about history of Anglicanism, of the prayer book and all that, but they otherwise won't press it that much at all. The emphasis is mostly on like evangelical, neo-Calvinistic Reformed theology. Like put it this way, I reckon you Lutheran guys will love this. One of the standard texts for theology there for students is Wayne Grudem's Systematic Theology.
Wow, really? That is, I mean, that's highbrow stuff. Like that's, man. I mean, you gotta, like, you know, it's usually like, at least for us Lutherans, obviously, it's, you know, you start out with Luther, then you go to Gerhard, maybe you go to Quinstead, and then Grudem. You know, that's how it works.
That's rough.
Doctor of the Church, Grudem.
We have our liturgical problems, but that's bad.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Doctor, here's the blessed saint, Dr. Wayne Grudem, Doctor of the Church of Trinitarian Theology and Gender Relations.
I don't know. Yeah. When I was reading into the church history lore, I heard that the Bible came down from heaven, you know, the good old King Jimmy, and alongside it was Grudem's Systematic.
Well, I would probably agree with the first half. You know, the King James came down from heaven. You know, gold inlays. You know, tabs already there. It was already marked up with Billy Graham's notes.
MacArthur's study Bible on the front cover.
I thought you Lutherans would say that the Luther Bible was the one that came from heaven.
I don't speak German.
Well, that's like kind of, that one came from purgatory. How about that?
Wow. Okay. Whoa.
I'm actually a little surprised we're still using Grudem. I've heard like Grudem's kind of getting phased out a little bit in evangelicalism, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think everybody was kind of on board with him, and then something about the evangelical movement, everybody was just kind of like, it's like that meme of like the Toy Story scene where he's like, I don't want to play with you anymore. He's like chucking the book.
Yeah, well, there was like, the subordinationist stuff, like people got, like there was a whole like debate about that. And then on top of it, like evangelicalism started to like implode on itself. And like, you know, you had like David Platt becoming a Marcionite, and you had Rick Warren getting kicked out of the SBC and all this stuff. Like evangelicalism started imploding, and I think
unhitch ourselves We have to unhitch ourselves from the Old Testament.
No, that was Andy Stanley who said that.
Oh, Andy, sorry, not
Oh,
David.
sorry.
You're right. You're
But
right.
I
You're
was
right.
like,
they're
I was like,
all
what
the
did David
same.
My
Blaine-
bad.
Listen, they're all the same amorphous blob. I don't like them. They're all the same. That's what it is.
All right, so I got a question for anybody who wants to answer. Can you guys hear me good?
Yes.
So
Yep,
I
loud and clear.
kind of asked in the chat, and I'm kind of curious how. I'm always just curious how different, especially like within Anglican and Lutheran circles, of how one would answer. What's your guys' take on veneration in terms of either iconography or even Eucharistic adoration? I mean, that could maybe go with it, but like in terms of being more moderately, because like I know I talked about this on my channel with actually Joe Young Anglican about like let's say like after praying, let's say a soldier in war, like you see like in Saving Private Ryan, the soldier prays the prayer and then he kisses his crucifix or cross before he goes into battle. So what's your kind of views on like those kind of moderate venerations of
I'll let all you guys go first because I suspect that I'm probably the most schizophrenic of all of you guys on this issue. But please go.
No, I think I might take a more schizophrenic view than you. At least for me, my diocese is very high church, so we're okay with things like we'll kiss the cross and everything else. We have the elevation, we retain the elevation. But we're always very keen to say Eucharistic adoration is not to be maintained as a superstition. It's not to be maintained the way that the papists do it. It is realizing the mystery behind what is there, which is Christ. So Christ embodies the mystery of the Eucharist. So in adoring that, you're adoring Christ. And that's the way we would kind of put it. It seems a bit schizophrenic, but it's just trying to be very clear that we're not trying to worship the bread or any sort of impanation or anything like that. It's more bowing in awe of the mystery of the Eucharist, if that makes sense.
So would you say then, would it be licit? There's the consecrated host and the priest, if the priest were to lift it up and then you were to like bow down towards that host because Christ is present there, is that licit?
Yeah, we genuflect. So we genuflect after the elevation with church bells and everything.
Yeah,
There you go.
The rubric at Zion Detroit is that when the Eucharist is processed from the chancel to the front pew, for those who cannot make it up the stairs, those who are in the chancel party who are standing in the transepts, that is off to the sides, after they have communed, because the chancel party communes first, they stand up to the sides in the transept so as not to block the front pew. And the rubric at Zion, at least, is to bow as the host is processed from chancel to front pew.
And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Seth, but Zion takes a lot of their rubrics from like old English district type, like really early American Lutheran rubrics from the English district.
Yeah,
right?
Lochner is one of the main guys, Friedrich Lochner.
Yeah.
Lochner, Leia's agenda, also SB&H. I'm totally forgetting that guy's name now, who is not actually Missourian at all. As well as drawing on like Palmer Burgess, who's actually Anglo-Catholic. That's the Palmer Burgess Missal.
Yep.
But yeah, we draw on a variety of different sources for liturgical rubrics. Zion does do the kissing of the crucifix on Tre Ore. So on Good Friday, noon mass, we do kiss the crucifix. Not required, but most people do it. So we don't have a problem with venerating, an image in that way. We'd make distinctions on how it's different from what the East or Rome is doing, but we don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
we don't
actually
host
do
Eucharistic
like
adoration, though. Like as a service, we don't do that because we'd see that as a violation of no sacrament apart from its intended use. We'd still genuflect if we were retrieving the elements, the reliquiae that is, from the tabernacle or the ambry. Like if for some reason you had to move the elements, we would still genuflect before getting them out because they're still consecrated elements. But we contend that the difference there is that it's simply being reserved for the next mass, not for its own ceremony.
Yeah, this is where I would kind of we don't practice at least in my diocese, we don't practice reserving elements. So everything within the divine service and everything within the Eucharistic adoration would be, for us at least, would be the entirety of what Christ instituted. So Dietrich's catechism explanation really is where we're coming from with that, as far as how we would define Eucharistic adoration is in the the fullness of it. So again, looking to the mystery of it, but we don't reserve elements or anything.
Okay, yeah, I guess you weren't wrong when you said that, Brandon, Reverend, that I wouldn't be as schizophrenic, maybe as you guys. I mean, not that I think you're schizophrenic anyway, but I was saying that only because, with my view, like Eucharistic adoration, quote unquote, in terms of there's the host, it's elevated, and we just like bow towards it and all that. That's completely licit, and if anything, you should do that. Because, well, in my own theology, God is there. God is really there in a sense. Whoa, hello, before I continue, $50 super chat, legends from a Salem Catholic, Salem Right Enjoyers, make yourself known. Happy birthday, buy a good book with this. I'm the guy who floods your server with old Anglican books. Oh, you absolute legend. Mate, thank you so much. This is such an awesome gift. Huge thanks. I'll honestly, with the next YouTube payment, I probably will get a nice book with that. Oh, man, thank you so much. And hey, once again, Salem Right Enjoyers represent. Hello, make yourself known. Oh, man, huge thanks. Huge thanks. Thank you so much. I love you. Absolutely love you. Mitch, lovely to see you. Happy birthday to me. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Anyway, so with that, where there is a consecrated host and so our Lord is present, priest raises that and I bow towards it. I believe that's totally licit. Now, for a while, and I was very public with this, I was actually this is where the schizophrenia kind of was. I am right now on the one hand against icon veneration, even something as simple as kissing a crucifix. I'm even against all that, and I say this with a whole bloody library of icons right behind me. But on the other hand, I was completely okay with like a benediction of the Blessed Sacrament, which I actually visited a few of those at like an Anglo-Catholic parish in my city. So yeah, very schizophrenic. But that said, I have like within the past couple of weeks or so, come to the view that some of my friends were saying where like, actually, no, I think they're right. Where at least for me, even though the service itself in principle, like everything that's done in it, like, so they'll raise the host, we bow to it. And then another deacon will bring the host towards us, point in our direction, we bow towards it. I don't believe that's in principle wrong. I think in principle it's actually good and fine. But I have been convinced of the idea that a pure service dedicated around that without the reception of the sacrament, that's improper and we shouldn't do that. So I've come to convince of that.
Totally agree.
Otherwise, sorry?
I would say I totally agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. But otherwise, all those very actions of bowing towards the consecrated elements of the Eucharist and like worshiping in that respect is completely good and licit, precisely because our Lord is there. Whereas with these icons here made of wood, glass, more wood, our Lord's not there in any special way, so you shouldn't venerate him.
My contention would be that if you can bow to a crucifix in a procession, I don't see the difference between bowing there and kissing a crucifix. Or similarly, do you guys not bow to the crucifix in the procession? Maybe you guys don't. I don't know.
I do. I bow when in the procession. I even bow.
Well, as far as I'm aware, we bow towards the priests when they go by. That's basically what I do.
But I mean, that's the same. I mean, but okay. I mean, you can bow to
all of the Lutheran rubrics that I know of specifically talk about the processional cross as being the thing we're bowing towards. The scepter of Christ's kingly rule. So That's the way that like the Tennessee Synod would have put it. The United Synod of the South would have put it. So I mean, specifically Lutherans are bowing when the procession comes out. We are specifically bowing to the processional crucifix, mainly as a again to reflect Jesus' kingly rule.
I've also heard some bow to the gospel as it being also processed.
Yeah, that's a good
Yes,
point. Yeah, I do
well,
recognize that.
In the old Lutheran
Latino.
rites, there was oh no, in the old Lutheran rites, there were during the 4 major feasts: Christmas, Easter, Pentecost, and Trinity Sunday. When the gospel book is processed out, everyone would bow to the gospel book as well. So
Yeah, Zion follows the older rubrics where we use the processional of the gospel book every Sunday.
I'll add to that, but Kevin's here, so I'll let him talk first. Mate, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, happy birthday. I can't really be on. I'm kind of out right now, but I just wanted to come on and say happy birthday. Thanks for inviting me on. Yeah.
Legend, thanks for coming.
God bless. See ya.
Yeah, I mean,
I do think
I apologize I apologize to the audience for that illegal alien jump scare. I just thought it would be a nice fun thing. But anyway, with that said,
we got to get him out of here. He showed up once, and then we sicked ice on him. It was fine. It worked out great.
It was an absolute tragedy. He should never have been here.
Wait, so Paul,
He should be back over the wall.
You bow towards the gospel book in the procession, but not the crucifix or the cross. Is that what you said?
Oh yeah. So I guess that was a good way to put it. I hadn't thought of that. I guess what Father Brendan said. So with me, whenever the procession was going by, my understanding has always been, well, it's the priests who are going by, and I'm bound. Yeah, they're carrying the processional cross as Father Brendan says, represent Christ's authority. But I was always understanding that we are bowing. I'm specifically bowing for the priests as they go by. But with that said, with the way Father Brandon or Reverend Brandon, whatever you prefer, articulated it, where the crucifix more so represents his kingly rule. It's not like intended to be like an icon where it's like a normative means of venerating Christ himself as if he's there. That actually makes sense. I hadn't thought of that. So maybe
I take it as a symbol.
Maybe I won't have qualms next time I kiss a crucifix or whatever, because that's kind of the key thing, because it can get very finicky, because on the one hand I take the second commandment and like it's plain sense. I don't mean that in like the reform sense of like, oh, 2CV of any image of Christ. Like, no, not like that, because that wasn't its intended sense. Its intended sense was images that were objects of worship. It wasn't just images, period. Right. But that said, I still take that seriously, because if you have like a crucifix, like my necklace right here, and you start like venerating in some way, whether it's bowing or kissing and all that, even if your intention is, well, I'm not intending that to Christ himself, but in honor of his kingly rule. Okay, but that gets within a very, very finicky hair's breadth. I mean, like functionally speaking, it almost appears no different to just icon veneration proper, you know? So I wonder what you guys would say about that.
Well, I think this is where good catechesis would come in, because the distinction between...
Wow, what are you implying, Brandon? No,
well, I mean, for us Lutherans, we have a sort of a sordid history of when catechism starts to creep out of the church. All of a sudden, these weird little things start to creep in. Shocker. But good catechesis, distinguishing between, like, say, what the East or what Rome would say is a veneration and things like that, and what our symbols say is veneration, and what we ascribe to that. Again, it's always, and I actually do like the analogy of, someone, in wartime, kissing a picture of his wife and family and everything, remembering them and everything. This is a good time to talk about symbolism and everything, right. And the East and Rome use that analogy a lot, but they don't actually believe what that analogy is teaching. We do. We actually believe that the soldier does not actually think that his wife and his children are, actually channeling, through that picture. We see that as being an honorable way of acknowledging his love for those people that are represented in that picture. And I don't know why they use that analogy.
I think not to go off topic, but I think it's the same thing with prayers to the saints. Where I think even I seen a post where Anglo Catholics are actually the most consistent. Where we literally simply, not that I do it, but like the post says Anglo Catholics, we're the most consistent ones because the East say, oh, we don't pray to saints, we ask the saints to pray to them. But yet you see these prayers are like, okay, you're simply you're like attributing your salvation to this one saint that you in this prayer. Whereas a simple Anglo Catholic would literally just say, "Pray for me." Like I know a reformed, hardcore reformed Anglican priest where he's literally okay with literally on depending on the feast day, saying to the saint, "Pray for me," and that is it.
There you go. Yeah. It's the gaslighting is so funny, especially from Easterners. You'll have their flipping Akathist hymns where they just straight up say, "Oh, blessed Theotokos, save me," and then they say, "Oh no, we're just asking you to pray to God."
Let me try this out. Let me try this out. Let me try this out. Since Seth is the other Lutheran. Oh, dearest Seth, justification of my soul, love of my light of faith. Would you please pray for me? Like it doesn't really work, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminded me of that meme where it's like, oh, it's just praying for a friend, and it like brings up that prayer where it's like, oh, Timothy, my beloved, strengthener, holder of the stars. It's like, what?
Yeah. Now I do love that meme, and I love how Michael just has to endure all this as the token Romanist in the chat. As he
he's getting his bread.
Yeah. So back to the icon veneration,
picking up some chicken, but yeah.
So like,
fair enough. Well, just as a perspective of that argument, actually, real quick, very relevant. Thank you again for another super chat attack, Dog. What is the principle for icon veneration, listed versus illicit? I guess that's basically what we're talking about right now. So you'll hear an answer to that. But I do love that argument, and I'm sure like Michael and other Romanists and Easterners will agree. It's kind of a silly argument where some will say, "Oh, well, it's just like talking. It's just like talking to your friend and asking them to pray for you. Well, that's no different." And so I remember thinking, okay, I've got to make a meme. I've got to make like a video skit meme of that. I've still got to do it. I thought of it like over a year ago, but of just someone makes that argument. Oh, you're echoing hard, Michael.
He's getting angry. He's like, all of you suffer now.
Sorry, suffer, Paul. Suffer.
Someone. No, Cleo. Yeah, so someone makes that argument, and then like me or whoever plays one guy, he goes up to another mate's door. Let's say it's Zach, right? So I go up to Zach's door after someone makes that argument, and Zach opens the door like, "Hey man, how's it going? What you doing here?" And I just kneel before him, and here's the memorare. I say, "Remember, O gracious Zach, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thy intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Anglican of Anglicans, my father. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Father of my other friend, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen." So if you said that to a friend...
I could see that. It's like you're just like grabbing on, like if I was wearing my cassock, you're just grabbing onto it, tears in your eyes, and meanwhile you still have the hat on. It's like slowly spinning.
And then Zach turns around slowly, and it becomes an analog horror video.
Oh yeah.
So back to the symbolism, like what Reverend Brandon was saying, and maybe Paul, you can jump into where when like I know you love the analogy with the soldier, where okay, like I used a picture of Saving Private Ryan where I believe he was a sniper, where he was praying as the doors of the boat on D-Day. And right before he prayed, and then he kissed his. I don't know if he had a crucifix or just a plain cross. Anyway, he kissed it, and then obviously he went into battle. Where I see that as obviously he knows he's going into where he has like probably a 60-40 chance he's going to die in this day, where he is praying to God, and he's venerating the cross or the crucifix, wherever he had as. I may die today, Lord, and I'm going to be with you, and it's because of this cross that you died on for me, is why I'm able to go with you on this day if I die. I don't know if you want to speak more to that, Reverend Brandon. If I missed anything or could have said it better or anything.
I mean, like I said, I liked the analogy. I just don't think the analogy is consistent with what Rome or the East actually teach. Like once you get
Right.
into the actual venerative prayers, and once you get into what's going on and what is actually dogmatically defined, the analogy doesn't hold up, because the analogy is essentially a for all intents and purposes a Protestant analogy, because you can easily make the analogy that obviously the soldier knows, he's not worshiping the thing itself, or he's not praying to this particular saint, or anything like that. Like you can make that analogy by the picture analogy. Like he knows that he's not calling on his wife or anything like that. He's saying I love you to my wife, before he goes into battle. It's the same exact principle. So, and I just don't think the analogy is congruent with what Rome and the East actually teach.
Do you mind if I offer my thoughts a little bit, just as the one Roman Catholic here?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, we don't allow papists here, boy.
This is our safe space.
This is Protestant country.
This is Protestant country.
Get him!
Listen, we got to deport all the papists now. We got to deport them. They're in here legally in our Protestant stream.
The illegal Catholics, they gotta go.
So I'd say my point to that, and I'd actually agree with you, with the whole friend thing. Yeah, I mean that's kind of gaslighting if you read any of our theologians when it comes to Mariology. I think the general principle we use, and I think St. Thomas explains this quite nicely in question 19 of Prima Pars, is that God, out of his abundant goodness, right, he gives the dignity of causality to his creatures. So when it talks about that strong language for the Blessed Virgin, we would use it in the same way that one could speak about the sacraments as secondary causes. I mean, that's the main principle that I would say that flows forth all of the type of Mariology when it comes to mediatrix or things like that, as opposed to she's just praying for you as a friend or whatever. I mean, that's ridiculous, because obviously when we distinguish between the order of nature, order of grace, and then the hypostatic order, right, we do say that she does have a special relation to Christ, and not just mainly because she gave birth to him, right, but mainly in the sense of because of that flesh that came from her that's united hypostatically to the Word. So we mainly tie it in mostly with mystical theology. So yeah, I would totally agree with you. It's not like this wholesale kind of it's just like praying to your friend or whatever, or asking your friend to pray for you. Yeah, I mean that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, that's just not consistent with our theology at all.
Nonsense, Michael. Simply.
Well, I think that a lot of it comes from the pop apologetics. That was really big in the 90s going into the 2000s. I mean, these
it's
things
still
get
big
recycled.
today, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I feel like I see
today.
every other week I see a post like that. That's some recycled talking point from 20 years ago.
Oh yes.
It's so annoying.
And it gets people, and it's like, and I get it that you want to try to make an argument. This one's been used a lot, and it's quick, it's easy, it's simple. Most people can get it, but again, that analogy is not congruent with what is actually being taught, and people get it. It almost feels like that a lot of people that still use that argument are being a little bit deceptive, almost like the turning the temperature up on the frog in the boiling pot kind of thing. Like it looks like, and I'm not saying that someone like Michael's doing this or anything. Obviously he's not, but it's almost like some of these pop apologetics in Rome and the East. It almost feels like we got to snag the Protestants, we got to snag them over to our side, and then we'll slowly turn up the pot on what we really teach. That's what it comes across as when those analogies are being used. Oh no, I made him leave. Oh no.
I say that. I think
I wasn't trying to be that mean. Sorry.
I think that, or it's just a lot of them just really don't know where it comes from. They just heard it from somebody else and well, that's what convinced me. So I just don't need to look any deeper into that. And so this is
cage staged.
Yeah. And I mean, as Seth was saying, I see it almost weekly on X, where it's if Protestants have the true faith, then why don't they pray to the saints? Because when we pray to saints, it's like asking your grandma to pray for you, and it's like no, that's Yeah.
Well, and the redefining of sola scriptura every other hour.
Yeah.
It's like, don't make me tap
Yeah.
the sign again. Stop
I-
redefining sola scriptura, you filthy papist.
I know our product has been debunked like 35 times now, but on the 36th time, when I repeat the same 35 times, it'll get you. You might as well
Swim to Rome, Reverend War.
Yeah. Oh, you're already bowing to the processional cross. You're already there. Let's do it.
What's that? You lift up the bread?
Oh no, the elevation. You know, in the Prussian Union, that was a big deal for Lutherists to get away from the crypto Calvinists. So you got to elevate the bread. If you didn't elevate the bread, you weren't a real Lutheran, and the local butcher was gonna meat cleaver your head. So.
Truth nuke. Now that's I will say that is one matter that is unfortunately it does seem that our formulary is not in line with, chiefly the Book of Common Prayer. So 1662, in the 1662 version, the Cranmer's Black Rubric was reintroduced, although it was heavily modified in important ways, but it was kept. It was kept also still the thing in it against like adoring the Eucharist, like bowing and all that towards it. And if that interpretation is the case, that the mere act of like showing signs of veneration towards the Eucharist is warned against in that rubric, then I just have to bite the bullet and say, like, look, from prior, more basic theological principles, like, no, that's just wrong. It's totally illicit to venerate wherever our Lord is present. Like literally the analogy I love to use all the time. I mean, it's not even an analogy, it's just a one-to-one correlation, is with the Ark of the Covenant. Like our Lord was God was in a special way present in the Ark of the Covenant. And as such, Joshua and the elders, they fell and prostrated before it. Like, was that sinful?
Well,
And the question is,
we could
did
go
the
even
formularies
further.
have that same Eucharistic theology? Because if you read Vermigli, who was a lecturer in Oxford, if you read Cranmer's Eucharistic theology, I don't think they believe that Christ is present in the Eucharist in the same way that he was present on top of the ark, which is probably informing their ideas about venerating the host.
Precisely, yeah. Whereas I do believe he's present in the same way it was.
Well, Paul, I was on the live stream I just did earlier this week with Father Shannon Ramey. He's an Anglican as well. We were talking about the purview statement and how that's kind of a lot of Anglicans are starting to embrace things like that, where us Lutherans have been on the forefront of this for a while, and I think I would agree with Seth as far as like Cranmer and guys like that really didn't have a full-fledged really a full-fledged understanding of what was going on in the Eucharist, I think. But a lot of Anglicans are coming around.
So Paul, when you said when you bow in the procession, you said it's toward the priest. Is that I'm curious, is that because you would hold to in persona Christi?
It's not even dependent on that. It's just the fact that he is a priest, he is ordained of God as an authority over me, and so acts of veneration like bowing and all that towards him and other authorities like kings is licit. The difference in my paradigm between that versus icon veneration, among other things, is that with God's own commands in Scripture, he says, "Don't show those acts of honor at all towards graven images as though they are me, because they are material things. They're not me. I'm not there, and so I do not take honor from them. If you show acts of veneration or worship towards them, whereas with kings and priests and all that stuff, they are persons who are worthy of honor and veneration, and so it's good and licit to show those towards them. That's my basic answer."
I mean, I just hold it really simple when it comes to icon stuff, where it's like, it's good for teaching, not good for bowing. I'm just going to leave it at that, just to play safe, at least for right now, with wanting to look into deeper studies like that. I don't really try to hold something objective of this is what I believe in that way, because I'm in training and in seminary. So a lot of the stuff I hold is like, well, this is my opinion, but, I'm not going to say anything authoritative on it because, I don't have that authority.
Most fascinating. So I hope that gives something of a wide spread of answers for Attack Dog here. Yeah, it's a big issue. A lot of particulars are involved. Yeah. What now? We've talked a lot about icon creation. What other things can we rage bait about?
There goes Reformed Catholic.
Oh no,
We scared
Reformed
him away
Catholic.
too.
But I would mention one thing too that I do think is a fair critique among the pop apologist level. There is a sort of Marian minimalism that I do notice that I've myself critique because I've done a lot of videos pertaining to Mariology, and I've received critiques from actual Catholics about it, as if like what I'm presenting forward are like just theories when they are actually Catholic doctrine, which is quite interesting to say the least. When
I'm
it's
curious for
presented.
Michael. I thought I could have sworn when this whole thing was, there was a big thing where on social media where, some Anglicans hold to the to a view where they would ask God to ask to pray to pray for them. And one, I believe he was Roman Catholic, said when when he has people join Rome in their new, I think he said that's actually a good thing to start. Like if they're a little uncomfortable with it, and I was surprised for him to say that. I don't know if you heard of that. When people go to Rome and they do that instead of going to the saint, they go to God to ask the saint to pray for them.
I mean, that was Father James, wasn't it, who made that comment to Cleve?
Right, but I believe a Roman Catholic actually commented on his post that said, "Oh, that's actually fine even within Rome," or something to that effect.
I mean, I wouldn't say that's per se wrong. I mean, obviously you can't be against, obviously the intercession of the saints. I mean, I wouldn't see anything wrong with that in principle as long as you're not actually like rejecting the laicity of, the intercession of the saints. But I mean, obviously I think a lot of it is just mainly to do with our mystical theology or like with our view of the mystical body of Christ, which I mean, I think a lot of, like, I think in general, with it comes to Mariology or the intercession of the saints, I think the typical like Catholic understanding, and it comes from bad magisteriology as well, that Eric was kind of called out for, is they kind of just like, well, if it hasn't been defined, then therefore it's on the table for debate, which that's just not how the magisterium operates at all. So I do think typically on the pop level with Catholics, they typically, when it comes to Mariology, it's, you have the 4 defined dogmas, and that's like all you really have to argue for. You know what I mean? Or that's all you have to present, or kind of like play it down as much as possible to try and convince Protestants. Like, I'm sure you guys have probably heard like the dumb Immaculate Conception argument with like, that Mary's, she had to be like without original sin so that Christ's flesh wouldn't have original sin or something like that, is usually how they'll say, which is like no theologian I've read extensively on Mariology is I've never seen a Catholic theologian make that argument for the Immaculate Conception.
I'm going to say hi for our friend here, my mate, Damo. How's it going, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, not too bad. How are you going?
Very, very well. Having a good time here with, well, at least for me, plenty of mead, and obviously getting ready for my party a little later today. How are you going?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Just been doing lots of reading, doing lots of translating, doing lots of all sorts of different things. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to seeing you at your party later.
Heck yeah, mate. Heck yeah, it's going to be great. And if people couldn't tell by the accent, Damo is a fellow local with me. Absolute legend. Always love hanging out with him when we get the opportunity.
It's crazy how like England send over like the worst people, like the convicts, like the absolute scallywags, and yet we build a better country than the UK. Like, it's crazy how that works.
Well, y'all got to prove that you exist first. You got to prove that you exist first. I don't know if anybody can live upside down.
Look, the CIA pays me too well to have to prove that to you. Okay.
I think that's quite a compliment towards us, Damo, that the Yankees here think our civilization is too good to be true, and so they accuse us of not
It's
existing.
all AI. Australia's AI. That's what the A in AI stands for.
I still fully believe that the 2005 King Kong movie was just Australia, the documentary.
Look, what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I just look up like dangerous animals in Australia, and it's just like a Wikipedia with like thousands. I'm like, people live there, huh?
Probably every single cryptid that's ever existed has passed through Australia at one point or another.
Well, I think it just makes us more, tough. That's what we all say. Like, you need to have great adversity, make you tough. What is it that, coal needs great pressure to become a diamond? So we're just a bunch of diamonds over here, I think.
Didn't the diamonds lose to a bunch of birds in a war once?
Look, I think this is overplayed, over-exaggerated. Look, you guys lost to a bunch of Vietnamese farmers. We can go both ways.
This is fake news. Listen, this is fake news. This fake news. I will defend my Australian brethren. This is fake news. We don't accept that.
Such. Believe me, I know the best people. Emus, they weren't that great, to be fair. Let's be honest.
I know good emus. Some are good people.
I know the best emus. My son-in-law, Jared, he knows the best emus. Jared Kushner, that guy is great.
They're not sending us our best people. They're not.
They're best birds.
Jared Kushner, my favorite Jew, the Jewiest Jew.
Listen, I just got through reading this great book on the Jews and their lies. Brilliant stuff.
Brilliant, informative, still relevant
very
today.
Informative.
Hey, I heard that Seth knows this book very well. His best friend wrote it.
This great guy. I don't know if you know who he is. He's great.
Look, I read about this poor kid, Saint Simon of Trent. Terrible what happened to him.
So true.
Listen, everyone wants me. Everyone wants me to release the Pope Julius III list. I will do it. Especially the things he was doing with his nephew. I will let it go, but not right now. We've got bigger fish to fry.
And how about the Pope and the King together in the Sistine Chapel? The Pope has never invited me to the Sistine Chapel. Bad guy, bad doo-doo. I don't like it. Where's my ecumenical prayer service?
Listen. If they recounted the votes from the conclave, I would probably come out on top. Honestly, rigged election. Leo, no, you're not there, dude.
Oh well. Look, it actually was kind of pretty cool aesthetics having the King and the Pope together in the Sistine Chapel. Like there was some great aura going on there. So, you have to say it was pretty cool. It was a pretty significant thing.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it yet, but I guess in terms of an occasion, it definitely was very significant. But in terms of what it actually means towards meaningful reunion or good change, I'm very pessimistic. Just with the nature of Charles III alone, who he is and what he actually believes or what he doesn't believe.
Look, 70% of religion these days is just performative. Okay, so as long as the performative looks good, it has good aesthetics. I think since it's accounting for that whole 70%, we're going on the right path when it comes to at least the aesthetics and the aura. I hope, though. Look, my sincere hope is that that King Charles, repents of his sins and he becomes a decently good bloke that actually defends the faith rather than the different things he's talking about at the moment with Islam and stuff like that. But I'm a monarchist, so I'm a big supporter of the monarchy in the UK and what that means for us in Australia as well. So.
Do you think
I know Americans don't understand that because of all your lies about King George III and all that sort of stuff, but we don't have to get into that.
Absolutely true. But Damo, aren't you? I don't know how much you're talking about it publicly right now. Aren't you working on something in that regard towards monarchy, political shit?
I am the spokesperson of the Australian Monarchist League. So if that's what you're talking about, otherwise. One thing that I've been working on for a few years, but I'm still sort of in the research phase because there's a lot to do, is and I've got a couple of projects I've got to work on at the moment, like my translation of Edward Hugon's course into mystic philosophy. But the plan is that I want to do a sort of scholastic manual in political theology.
That's the one.
And yeah, that it's a huge project, and there's a lot of research to do and a lot of work to do on it. So it's not going to be coming out for a long time. But I'm sort of just focusing at the moment of finishing off this Hugon translation, and then after that I'll get work started on this manual in political theology, which would be it's crazy huge how big this project is, honestly.
I can imagine, even just with the little bits relative to others, of course. I think I've gone pretty deep in political theology, but even relative to other figures, I've only really touched the surface. But even just on that, it's insane how many questions you have to deal with, how many principles you have to establish. It is a wildly deep subject.
Yeah, I mean, and like you would be, and when you talk about topics that you would even think would have anything to do with it, like, I mean, who here has actually thought about like the nature of like a regal consecration? Like, is it a sacrament? Is it a sacramental? Like that question, like a lot of people are like, oh crap, I didn't even think about that as being like a subject that would even be touched on by like political theology. But like, I mean, like you have to go into a lot of these deep things, and obviously a lot of people have written books on like political philosophy, and so there are a lot of areas in political philosophy you have to respond to, and check the sources, check the Holy Scriptures, check the Church Fathers, check for me as a Catholic the documents of the Catholic Church, documents of the Magisterium, and there are a lot of hotly contested debates in even amongst Catholics about certain things, like for example the origins of political authority is one that I've been really getting into a lot lately, about what is the first subject of political authority. So you have like Zigliar, so you have like people like St. Robert Bellarmine that says that obviously it's directly from God to the people as a multitude, and then the people transfer that power to a viceroy or to a representative. Whereas more recently, quite a lot of Thomists.
The proto John Locke.
Yeah, but then there actually are a lot of Thomists. So one person I've been reading lately is Ottaviani, who's really, really based, and others like Zigliara, Henry Grenier. There's quite a lot of these people who basically say that the people are not the first subject of political authority, but rather they dispose a particular subject to be the direct recipient of political authority from God. And this is a highly contested debate. Like Jacques Maritain and Yves Simon are very hotly on the side of the transference of power theory. There are quite a lot of Europeans that are very much on the side of, and also a lot of the Quebecian Thomists are very much on the side of no, the people as a multitude cannot be the direct subject of political authority. They have to designate someone to receive that. And then you also have actually quite a lot of debate amongst a lot of these different people. But
so
it's a very hotly debated subject between like different kinds of Catholics, and even like where would St. Thomas even stand on this issue, because there are certain passages of his that seem to lean towards one side, like in the Prima Secundae, question 90, Article 3, where he talks about the promulgation of the law. It seems like he seems to say that authority could be held within the multitude, but then there are others that respond to this and say like, well, look at his commentary on, say, for example, Romans, where those ordained by God, or his commentary on where Jesus says you would have no power unless it was given to you from above. And it seems like in his commentary to those things, he's talking directly about how it's power comes directly from God to the person who actually wields authority, rather than to the people and then to the person who wields authority. So it's very, very complicated. But like, even this is just like one question within a particular treatise of like political authority, which itself is like, the treatise of like the formal constituents of like the political society, which is itself, like it's a very very big it's a very very big work, and there's a lot to delve into and to try and see from the sources of theology, like, okay, what does the Bible say about this? What does the church fathers say about this? What does the magisterium say about this? To see like which side you have to sort of side on, because philosophers can make good arguments, but if theology says one way, then you kind of have to go that way, don't you?
Yeah, that's the way you put it. Yeah, absolutely. It's a ridiculously deep topic. I wonder, Seth, who would you say are the principal authors in your tradition for like political theology?
Christian Matthei has a book called Political System. At least that's the English translation. We have that AI translated with Claude AI. It's pretty interesting. That's a good one. We have mostly all of our major dogmaticians treat this topic in a section. So you're going to look at Gerhard and Quenstedt and Kalov and Hallatz. We are going to translate Quenstedt and Kalov hopefully on the topic soon. I already have most of the other authors translated. Gerhard is currently in process. We have his aphorisms translated, but not his Loci. But of the people we've translated so far, I like Hallatz's treatment the best. Hallatz I think he does a really good way articulating his position quite well. In general, our dogmaticians kind of all just agree. And so we're just, they're stating things in different ways or answering slightly different questions, but are generally in agreement of, you have to have a Christian state and things like that. And they actually do treat a lot of the same topics. They, I believe the topic of the coronation of a king and how that's is or isn't a sacrament, I believe that's treated in Kalov's single volume Dogmatics. I could be misremembering. But the question of, political authority, how it's derived is treated by most of them. And topics of like just war are treated, how the state should or shouldn't enforce certain things in the populace, and how it relates to the governance of the church, whether the church stands above the state in any respect, and vice versa. So lots of good things being treated there. We're working on a compend on this, so we're going to publish pretty much every major dogmatician on this topic. That should be out hopefully. Depends on the pace we move. I think at the pace we're moving right now, it will be out next year, not this year, so 2026. But we're going to have the plan is to have pretty much every major figure in there. So all the authors of the confessions and or people adjacent to it. So that would include stuff from Luther and Melanchthon and Bugenhagen and Urbanus Regius and Brenz. So all those good first generation people. And then it also has, all these later figures up through the 1750s. Valentin Ernst Lacher is the last guy in our tradition that I have translated on this. I just translated his work yesterday, which was on how the magistrates should be educated on theology. There's a specific treatise on that topic of the religious pedagogy of magistrates. So it's fairly interesting. Lots of good stuff there. It will be probably a bit out of line with what a lot of people want to hear of what our dogmaticians said, but it's in my opinion good material.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that.
Yeah,
I want to interject just to have like from an American Lutheran, like if you want an American Lutheran political theology, once again David Hinkle's Carolinian Herald of Liberty is a big one. And then there's another short essay that my bishop put out, Political Theology in the American Empire. So it kind of taking a lot of the dogmatician stuff is like, okay, how do we apply that then to the American system and the American Constitution and things like that? So little different bent, but if anyone wants to look at like early American Lutheran political theology, David Hinkle would be one of them.
For me, I went about it through philosophy first, and then I went through the Bible. So it's like I was reading like Hobbes and like even stuff that was like anti-monarchist. Like you have Rousseau, you have you have Marx. I'm trying to think of the anarchist Santa Claus guy. What was his name?
Are you talking about
Kropotkin, I think. and just like matching up all of these like anti-monarchist positions and like what it's been done, because I used to be libertarian and everything, and it's like all of these seem to be a case of like when we spell it out to a democracy like setting. I mean, we can say we're a constitutional republic, but we think very democracy focused, and it's like the thing that is held consistently that has caused the least amount of problems in the entirety of political history has been some sort of monarchy in general. Because it's like, you get America, where it's like, I love America, like, I like my freedoms and everything, but it's like, in some states like Illinois, it's like if you don't live in Chicago, your vote means nothing because it's a mob rule in one city. Or if you have this idea, well, everybody, or like take what was that like anarchist society that was in Seattle for like a week, pretty much. It was a CHOP or something.
Chaz.
It's like Chaz. It's like within like 10 minutes of that thing being operational, there was literally warlords already in there. So it's like they're like this idea that we're all just going to kumbaya into this like democracy where everyone is equal. It's like that just never, like, we're not built like that. And it's like, then when I did look through scripture and everything like that, it's like the only thing politically I do see other than a theocracy being established is a monarchy. And again, it's like we've had monarchies forever, and it's only when the mass rebels against this monarchy that we set up our system. Like the French Revolution is like, like that's one of my niches. It's like, yeah, it wasn't perfect at the time because there was bad leadership, but within the Civil War, you had this like anarchy type of weird setting, just to go right back to Napoleon being an emperor and then kind of a presidency. And it's like, it's always flip flopping, from then to now, to the point where it's like, but there was order and there was establishment when there was a monarchy there. And we see that throughout all of it. So I looked at it philosophically, and that's where I started leaning towards the monarchist position, that and just historically and later biblically, where it's like, of all the systems, it's like there is no like perfect system per se, but the thing that has stayed consistent and has had the least amount of problems throughout history itself was some sort of monarchy in place. But somebody could object to that, but that's at least from my observations from there.
I completely agree. And real quick, super chat from Justified Concordian, you absolute legend. Happy birthday, Paul, man. Can you give your hat propeller a spin? Oh, Habibi, of course I will. Just for you, mate. Right there, it gets the noose juice flowing. And Michael Corleone, DoorDash Thomas, is back on. How you going, mate?
Pretty good. Just was hate watching for about 10 minutes, and then I was like, yeah, I'm good.
All right, I gotta go, Jen.
You are on with my buddy Damo, a fellow autistic Thomas. So say hi.
What's up?
Yes, I'm glad to see my fellow brother in first act here.
Oh man, beautiful stuff. Oh, Seth had to hit it. He wouldn't be able to say goodbye, but Seth just said he had to go. So Seth, Scholastic Lutheran guy, thank you very much for coming on. People, check out Scholastic Lutherans if you want. Well, Scholastic Lutheran theology and videos. They're very, very good. Anyway, with that said,
it looks like I'm gonna have to head out too. I got a Halloween party with the kids. I gotta go to. So
right when the Lutheran is all by himself, suddenly he has to flee.
Oh, sure, yeah. I promised my wife that I would be off by 7:30 Central Time, so it's getting close there.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for that, Reverend. Thank you very much for coming on. Glad to finally make your acquaintance.
Thank you for having me on. This was awesome. And happy birthday!
God bless,
happy birthday! Give a spin one more time.
There we go.
Oh yeah,
yes, nice.
Yeah.
All right, God's blessings, everyone.
That's the way. God bless.
Yeah, God bless you.
Take care.
And this is good timing too, because I was planning to basically just let it basically call it off by the time the 2-hour mark, but I'm willing to spend a few more minutes with you, absolute legends. Or what other chat is there to, or what other fat is there to chew on? I guess that's kind of the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm obsessed
Hmm.
because I made one video calling out Eric McCabe for saying that
Oh,
atheists can
yeah.
have implicit faith.
Oh yes, I did see that.
I was going to ask Damo
That
about
was
that. What do
good.
you think of that idea? Atheists can have implicit faith.
Well, don't you need to have at least some belief in God in order to accept His authority about something? Like, I mean, like the idea of faith is that you take, like, obviously, you can have natural faith where you take, a scientist's words because there are natural sort of signs of credibility for that scientist to agree with him on a particular subject. Well, supernatural faith is that you take God's word for something because of His authority. How can an atheist, in any sense, who doesn't believe there is a God, in any sense, take His authority for something? It's like completely
Exactly, yeah.
like mind numbing.
Correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I'm aware, the concept of implicit faith is that you have one, I guess, broader or related proposition, and then virtually contained within that proposition is another one, and that's when you can say you have implicit faith. So you have someone who's like, I don't know, say you have like a generic theist. They're not a Christian, but they have a belief in a singular, ultimate creator God. And so in that, you could say there's some kind of an implicit faith in God proper. Is that the right way to think of it, or not really?
Somewhat like that. So like I kind of compared in the video from like a premise to a conclusion. Like insofar as like you have maybe a simple-minded person, right? They believe they have explicit faith in the incarnation. Therefore, they have implicit faith that Christ is a human will, right? But if you don't have the premise, the conclusion doesn't follow, right? Because explicit faith is to believe in something in of itself. Implicit faith, by definition, is to believe in something insofar as it is contained within another proposition. But obviously,
Okay. So maybe another good example would be someone who's not at all familiar with the Council of Nicaea and just never has thought of the topic themselves. They don't have an explicit belief Jesus Christ is God, but they wholeheartedly accept from Scripture Jesus Christ is Lord.
I wouldn't say that, just because that's like, those are kind of like, if they're not believing that Jesus Christ is God, that's kind of like a contradictory proposition, right?
Well, not like disbelieving it, but like they don't have an explicit belief in that category. Christ has like the fullness of the divine substance of the Father, but they just haven't thought of it. It's not like they actively disbelieve it, but just that they haven't explicitly come to think of it.
I suppose, but I take a more so this is kind of a disputed topic within the church now. If implicit faith suffices for the Trinity and incarnation, I would take the position that I think St. Thomas clearly articulates, that in the age of grace for all men, explicit faith in the Trinity is a necessity of means for salvation. Now, I'd say it's per accidens. So basically, what I would say is if somebody is invincibly ignorant, right, and they're living according to the dictates of conscience, they would either be sent a preacher or receive an internal illumination. And then with that internal illumination, right, because natural knowledge of God does not suffice for salvation, right? You have to have supernatural faith that He is, right? I would say with that internal illumination, God would reveal to him the Trinity and the incarnation, if that makes sense. That seems to me St. Thomas is consistent.
That doesn't make sense. Yep. Yeah.
So would you say then that the implicit faith is sort of an act of analysis? So, like, for example, that everything that's contained within the notions of a particular thing is it can be like applied, or can be sort of understood as being implicitly implied in the expressed. So, like, for example, as you were saying, like, I believe that Jesus Christ was fully human. That would mean that if you analytically understanding under the notion of human is that, well, God, Christ at least contains a will under His human nature, and if God and Jesus is as God would also contain a will under His divine nature, so He would have two wills, even though you don't understand that like fully, like just by saying that Jesus Christ is fully God and fully man, you can at least through the analysis of the notions of those terms come to those particular conclusions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what makes sense for like the common people, right? Like, I don't think that, most people, like if you give them like a quiz on Christology, that they're going to exactly be able to know all the nuances with like diotheletism or diophysitism. But obviously, we're not going to say that that individual doesn't have faith in Christ, right? So obviously, but if for an atheist, right, they reject faith's object. You cannot have you can't have faith, right, if you are rejecting the testimony from the agent who's delivering said testimony. And like when you watch Eric's video, he tries to do this like weird obfuscation where he's like, well, they just reject a caricature of God or whatever. I'm just gonna be honest, just a bunch of bullshit to try and put forward his false position that's completely heretical. And my thing is, unless you have explicit faith that God is, that is the primary object, right? That is where all the premise, where all the conclusions flow forth from. If you don't have that primary premise, right, with explicit faith, you cannot have implicit faith in anything else, because implicit faith is only real insofar as it is contained within explicit faith. So it's just completely.
Whoa, okay.
Unless, of course, hang on. I've got a point. Perhaps he's actually being so based, he's like Bill White pilled and like Thomas Pill and saying there's actually no such thing as atheism. Maybe he's actually he's actually beyond based. He's actually saying there's no such thing as atheism.
Yeah,
so we haven't gone down to the levels of base. He's actually
okay, everybody, where's a piece of paper? Everybody, sign the Eric McCabe apology form.
Yes.
I'm obsessed, guys, because he was like throwing shade at Wagner, like with Wagner and Michael Lofton's situation. Because yeah, I mean, then he knows that like Wagner like used to tutor me and stuff. And he's like, yeah, he learned this all from his teacher and whatnot, of like being obsessed with other Catholic YouTubers. I'm like, dude, you're out here publicly promoting heresy, so I feel the need to publicly correct you.
You see, this is
but Michael, you're a homophobe. What do you say to that?
Oh yeah, that I'm homophobic.
You see,
it's so over.
It's like, this is where I would just hold the Occam's razor. It's like, if an atheist just tells me he doesn't believe in God, I don't think it needs to be that deep. It's like, homie just doesn't believe in God, and just keep it simple.
Oh no, he has an implicit virtual distinguished ratio canatai distinct faith in God. That's clearly what's happening here.
Well, clearly he didn't read Saint Boogly Boo, the Roman Catholic theologian that 3 people an inquisitor read, and literally nobody else in existence, because then he would know the distinction that atheism isn't actually atheism. It's this weird Latin phrase that probably will make your chair levitate.
So true.
So you stupid Latin theologians, you clearly haven't read the 420 dialectical metaphysics theses of Saint Papadopoulos. You haven't done that yet. Just stop talking. Go back to worshiping Dictatus Papae, stupid papists and Protestants.
Yeah. And like the thing that's really frustrating, right, is I had to bring up how with Eric's position, right, because I made the argument, right, demonstrating that it's impossible for an atheist to have faith. So if you're suggesting that they have a possibility of salvation, your position goes to one of two things. One, you deny the necessity of faith as a disposition for baptism, even if you say baptism of desire, which is obviously against Holy Scripture, but also condemned at the Council of Trent. Or you deny the necessity of sanctifying grace for salvation, which is also Pelagianism and condemned at Trent. And it's just so frustrating with some of these Catholics, is that like I can bring up Holy Scripture to refute them, and they'll be like, well, are you pitting the Bible against my retarded interpretation of magisterial documents?
Yeah. Or you deny that atheism even exists, in which case based and then perhaps maybe, well, if they're not really atheists, maybe they can have some kind of faith. I don't know, but no, it is like completely ludicrous. You're right.
And then, I have guys just argue. I had my live stream premiere, and I had this guy arguing with me, like talking about like, well, I was an atheist and I was pursuing the truth, yada, 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 and this, that, and the third. There's a lot of nuance in this. I'm like, dude, there's no freaking nuance. You reject faith's object, you don't have faith. I don't understand what's so complicated about this.
Yeah, but the scholastics said
Michael, that is not, as a brother Michael to another Michael, that is not very charitable, nuanced, and not hyper qualified. I think you are going against the holy magisterium of the Holy Father, Pope Francis. He's still alive, by the way. That's bullshit. He never died.
Yeah,
he's still the Holy Father.
Our greatest error was rejecting the infallible interpreter of the infallible magisterium. That was our first error.
Who could deny the magisterial authority, the extraordinary authority of Michael Lofton's lectures in the magisterium? Like, come on. It's like Bishop. Wait, where's my copy of it? I think I've got it somewhere over here. It's come on, surely it's over here. Oh, darn it, I can't find it. Okay. But hey, Bishop Gas's relatio to the First Vatican Council, accepted as the authentic interpretation of Pastor Eternus and just the overall conclusions of that canal. Throw that shit in the bin. Michael Lofton's lectures are just another level beyond that, okay? Facts.
Yeah.
So true. So true. We need to get the apology letter out for Michael Lofton. I doubted his infallible charism. I doubted his charism of infallibility for interpreting magisterial documents.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Pope Leo, in recognition of his service, he actually declared a new category of magisterial authority for Michael Lofton exclusively, hyperordinary.
Hyperordinary.
So over.
That's a good one, yeah. Anyway, what have you been reading lately, Michael?
Myself, let's see. Right now, I've been reading Cardinal Journet's The Church of the Incarnate Word, Volume 2.
Yes, I literally just got that the other day. Hang on, let me see if this one?
Yep.
The 2-volume one?
Yeah, I'm about 500 pages in. It's absolutely a gorgeous book. But I'm like kind of schizophrenic. I'm reading like 3 different things at once. I'm also reading Richard Cross's Christology. It's I think the early scholastic period. Then I'm also reading Father Peter Damian Fellner's essays on Mariology. So quite a few.
Very nice.
Aside from Holy Writ, obviously, but
yeah. I'm just going to warn you that Journet is like a hyper Maritanian. His positions on church-state relations are a little bit influenced by Maritain. So just be ready for that.
I mean, I haven't really.
Oh yeah, we all know what that is, isn't that right, Zach?
Oh yeah.
Actually, funny, kind of related. I mean, Damo obviously already knows, but I basically just started on Lagrange's Providence, which I'm loving so far. Not totally in order. I'm going to be going in order in a second, but I basically started with, what did I start with? I started with part 1, chapter 5, God, the Ultimate Foundation of Duty, because moral theology and natural law in that regard has been like one of my key focuses recently, especially with my book, which is now finished and it's going to be published by Sacra Press, called On the Right to Dissent, where pretty much all the section on like the basic principles is all about like where do our duties, like what are the mechanisms that obligate us as rational humans and as Christians to believe X, Y, or Z. So how do we know what things that we have to agree on or things which we can agree to disagree on? So there's that. And then the other part I read was part 3, chapter 14, the notion of providence. So just what it is, basically. And now I'm going to probably go through the rest in proper order. But beautiful book, and for the extremely wallet-destroying price of $1.
I wish that's so disappointing because like all of the books on Amazon or you can try to find online of Gary Laurent are like so expensive, so you have to like get the PDF versions. And then apparently like what Matthew Minard was saying is apparently the translation of Gallagher's On Beatitude is apparently dog trash and you should just read the Latin. And I was like, oh, okay.
Ooh, really? Rough.
Yeah.
Rough.
Stuff I got going right now is because I am joining our monastic order in the UECNA. I'm looking at a lot of just monastic things. And so I got the Desert Fathers here and then just monastic practices and stuff on the Benedictine order. And
oh, nice.
So you have the rule. Do you have the rule of Saint Benedict, I assume? Or
yeah. I have Robert Barron's translation over here, and this handbook actually has it built in as well. And then, like non-monastic stuff, I have this evangelical theology. It's kind of like an evangelical response to the Tractarians. That's the one I sent you, Paul, where it's like,
oh, no way.
You want to hear both sides of the story and see where everybody was coming to the conclusion. I'm not going to totally spoil it. If you do pick it up, it's by Peter Toon. But I and the priest who has recommended this book for me, he's like, you're going to read this, you're going to hear both sides, and you're going to go, oh, oh, everybody was kind of wrong, and he like establishes like this middle way to it, but it's not like explicitly said in the book. But
Whoa, wait. So a middle way. So you're saying he's establishing a via media for the via media.
I know. It's like, you look at the Tractarians, you look at the evangelicals, and it's like, well, both had some right stuff, both were wrong on some things. This is where we come from as old high churchmen, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
So
I'm gonna look that up. So Peter Toon, evangelical theology.
I sent a picture of it to you in your DMs a while ago. So
oh yeah, you did. Yeah, that's why I remember that thing.
Yeah,
sweet.
Like I said, he doesn't say the conclusion. It's just, at least for me and the priest that gave this to me, where we both kind of oh, okay, yeah, I understand.
Having now started research into that period and that movement, especially my latest video, What is Anglicanism? Like Anglican Fundamentals Part 1.
Great video, by the way.
Having now started, thank you very much. Having started research into that Oxford movement, I've come to see, okay, they are definitely one of the most misunderstood and slandered like theological movements just ever. It's actually insane. And a lot of it's John Henry Newman's fault, but that's for another time. Yeah. But with that being said, he's a good. I think our Thomist friends they'll love. What were you gonna say, Zach?
Well, I was gonna say, it's like even after he dipped out, it's like the Tractarian movement kind of just lost it was like a shell of its former self, and it's like anything UC tried to do to kind of re-spark that fire was just not happening.
Yeah, it did, but it did have its impact. It did have its massive impact, with hymnal worship, the abolishment of rental pews. That was like when I first learned that was a thing. That was like shocking. But anyway, with that, this one, our Thomist friends will probably like this. Thank you very much, Attack Dog, for the super chat. Principle for when interest is usury.
I'll probably take that. Christian Wagner was going to have me on his stream to talk about just price theory and usury. Unfortunately, I got double booked, so he's we'll try to organize another time to come on and talk about it. But the low and the middle is that in strictly speaking, usury only applies to what is called mutuum contracts. So contracts are part of the treatise on justice. So contra Trent Horn, usury is contrary to justice, not just contrary to charity. So it's within the treatise of justice, and within justice, when it comes to commutative justice, there's a treatise on contracts, and there's a lot of different kinds of contracts. Usury, in a very, very broad sense, and I think in an improper sense, usury could be applied to basically any sort of unjust profiting on any kind of contract. But if you actually look at a lot of the moral theologians, it's specifically applied to a mutual contract, which is what's called a loan. And it's a gratuitous loan, which basically means I'm giving you something and I'm expecting just the same kind and the same number in return. So within this contract, obviously anything that interferes with the equality of that contract causes a sort of injustice within the contract. So for example, if I give you $50 and you give me something more than $50, then obviously there's an injustice within the contract because there's this inequality within the contract. So there are different kinds of titles that you can get with any contract. There's intrinsic titles and extrinsic titles. So intrinsic titles means it's something that comes from the very nature of the contract itself. So for example, within a sort of like, for example, within a labor hire contract, so like an employment contract, obviously an intrinsic title to it within the actual contract is that someone has to give me their labor and then I pay them for the use of that labor. So that arises from the very intrinsic nature of the contract. Now, usury is any unjust profit. So that means anything that speaks of any kind of inequality arising from the contract that comes inherently from the loan itself. So because the loan is by nature gratuitous, it's meant to be that I'm giving you something, you give me something of equal kind in return. And so anytime there's any kind of inequality with what I receive in return, that is usury. So it's not any kind of, it doesn't necessarily need to be interest. It could even be just like a gift that you give on top, or it could even be like, I give you $50, you give me $51. Interest is like a certain way that usury manifests, but it's any inequality that arises from the mutual contract. However, the moral theologians accepted certain intrinsic titles. So, for example, if me lending you, let's say I lent you $5,000, for example, and my car breaks down and I'm unable to use that $5,000 that I gave you in order to buy a new car. And so instead I have to basically hire a car or hire a car for the period that, and for the rest of the period of that contract until you give me that money back. Well, this is a real damage that has come about because of this contract. I've had to go out and hire a car instead of go out and buy a car. So in order for there to be equality within the contract, I am able to charge you for the damages that have occurred to me because I've lent you this contract. So that would not be usurious. This is what's called an intrinsic title. It's called damnum emergens. So the emerging damages that have come because the contract is put in place. Another title, and this is where modern usury tends to become, where modern interest tends to become more licit, is what's called lucrum cessans, which means a ceasing of profit. Now, there's a complex history with how Thomists justify this, because on the face of it, if you read St. Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologia, it seems, at least prima facie, it seems that St. Thomas rejects lucrum cessans as an intrinsic title. But if you look back in the Summa Theologia in his treatment of restitution, he at least gives the principle that when someone is on the way to having something, it at least is valuable in some way. It may not be as valuable as if you had it in the moment, but it is still valuable that he's on the way to having something. So from this principle, people like St. Alphonsus Liguori, people like Billowart, people like Merkelbach, pretty much most of the Thomists, the only Thomist that disagrees with lucrum cessans is De Soto in the Salamanca school, but pretty much all the other Thomists agree with lucrum cessans based on this principle that he brings about in his question on restitution and I think it might be the Segunda Segunda, that lucrum cessans is permissible, that if you were on your way to getting a profit from the money that you instead lent out, that you are entitled not to the full amount that you could have gotten from this profit-bearing sort of adventure that you could have gone on, but at least some portion of that you could have received back. Now, obviously, at the time of St. Thomas Aquinas, profit-bearing sort of adventures were very rare. They weren't a very common sort of institution. And so lucrum cessans only came about in very rare circumstances. But within our modern economy, where financial assets are very, very common, and anyone can basically put their money into a government bond or into the stock market or into property or into gold or into any other sort of financial investment or financial asset, lucrum cessans now has basically become universal. It is now a universal sort of a universal extrinsic title that's applied to loans. And now there is so that at least justifies that at least loans can charge for some interest that is at least a partial amount of what they could have earned if they were to put that money in like a government bond or in the stock market or something like that, that at least had a good chance of earning a profit. But there is still an unjust amount of interest. So, for example, obviously the principle applied was that it had to be less than the amount that you would have earned from these other ventures. So that is why nowadays within the Catholic Church and a lot of the moral theologians will basically say that some interest is justified simply because of the lucrum cessans, and that indicating specific cases has become too difficult for modern confessors to have to indicate whether someone would have actually earned lucrum cessans if they had done X and Y and Z. So, there is at least a small amount of interest that people can make from loans. I think that out of charity, I mean, if I was to give a loan out, I wouldn't expect anything back above, what I actually lent out, and that's out of charity. And I think it's also in conformity with what Christ taught about, when you give a loan, expect nothing in return. but just from a principle of justice, there's nothing wrong with charging a small amount of interest that's at least less than what you would have earned in other things. Now, and so usury nowadays, according to a lot of these principles, is basically whenever you're charging in a level of interest that would have been at or above what you could have earned if you would put that money into a financial asset or into a financial financial asset and financial investments. So that's the sort of principles that kind of back the idea of interest and usury in today's modern economy.
Well, Attack Dog, I hope that answer of basically an entire spoken scholastic manual was sufficient for your question.
That was an awesome answer.
I hope that was good. I hope that helped.
Yeah.
Michael, you have anything to say, or?
No. I mean, when it comes to moral theology, like it's when you read a manual in moral theology, and I'm sure Damien can understand this too, is like you'll have some like really interesting stuff on conscience, and then you get to some of the stuff on like economics. It's hard for me to like. It's not always the most interesting to me, to be honest. So I haven't really studied some of the stuff on economics like that to really. But I know that obviously usury is definitely a big, bit of a hot topic. Theology.
Yeah, I think a lot of people misunderstand usury because they bring up a lot of reasons for why they think usury is now justifiable. So, for example, one of them is that money has now become fruitful. And I just completely disagree with that. The nature of money has not changed. Money is still money. Money cannot multiply itself. The old adage, if you put 2 gold coins in a in a drawer, leave it for a few days, when you look at it, it's still going to be 2 gold coins that haven't copulated. Like the nature of money is still, barren. It is not fruitful. But, and this is something that was at least, spoken about by the School of Salamanca and, the medievals, is that it's virtually fruitful by its use in fruitful endeavors or through productive means. So it can be fruitful by some other thing that is fruitful, in that you can trade the money for something that is fruitful. So it's not inherently fruitful, it's only virtually fruitful. But this is something that medievals knew.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Zach, I don't know if you have any ideas on the matter.
No, I mean, I pretty much would agree with Damien. Like, I think it's the same principle. Again, I like to keep things very simple. So my opinions are probably, kind of boring because I don't get really deep into the scholastics like these guys. But yeah, it's I like the point you brought up with Jesus. It's like, if you lend something out to somebody, expect nothing. And in fact, like I would even sometimes say go above it to what he was saying about, like when somebody comes to you and like sues you for your shirt, give them your coat as well. Just do that just to have that charitableness. So eventually when, somebody does come and demand something of you in like a violent way, it just invalidates what they do, because it's like, well, hold on, this is the man who has went above and beyond, the call to honor to help somebody out, even though they are just not, and like there's no like expectation of something else to come about. So I mean, I'd have to look into that more. Damien, I don't know if I have any contact info with you, but I'd like to get some of those books that you have, or some.
Sure, I mean, just
I can throw that in there.
Sure, just message me on Twitter.
Yeah, is it your name?
It's just my name.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Too easy. Well, gentlemen, we've just surpassed 2.5 hours, so I think I'm going to call it here because I've got to set up for that party that I'll see you at, Damo. So, gentlemen, thank you all so much for coming on today. Thank you for all the other guests who came on but had to leave early, and especially thank you, legendary viewers, for coming in to watch and just have a good time with me. This is definitely still a birthday stream because in the end, just like with real life birthday parties, just like with what's about to happen in a few hours at my place, these are the discussions we have. We come to the party and we're like, Damo, Catho, how's it going? Yeah, bring in the drinks, lad. And then a few minutes later, we're like, yeah. So I think there's certainly a distinction between God's essence and God's existence. That's what ends up ultimately happening at all the boys' parties every single time. So this is very much worthwhile. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. But if you guys want to plug anything, let's do that. Zach, we'll start with you.
Just my YouTube channel, the Anglican Acolyte. I've plugged it on here before. I'm thankful for all the support that has come through this channel and this stream, and I'm happy to meet Michael and Damien. You guys are really cool, and I'd like to, if one day, do some sort of collaboration in the future, or just get to know you guys more. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sick as. Michael.
Yeah, so my channel is DoorDash Thomas. If you want to see, I don't want to gas myself up too much, but if you want to see a more serious Catholic YouTuber, particularly from the scholastic thought of St. Thomas, check my channel out. I did kind of do a polemical video today, but I just felt it necessary, given a lot of heterodox interpretations of Vatican II. Basically, I just released a video specifically against Eric McCabe with his absurd claim that an atheist can have implicit faith. So if you want to see a proper hermeneutical understanding of Vatican II in light of other ecumenical councils within the Catholic Church, I'd highly recommend checking it out. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you, Paul, for having me on, and obviously happy birthday to you, dude. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Michael. Hugely appreciate it. I'm definitely very keen to watch that video. And Damo.
Yeah, I've got really nothing to plug. Follow me on Twitter. It's at Damien DePile. Nothing special. I basically just tweet my thoughts. But I am working on a translation project. I'm translating all of Father Edward Hugon's course into mystic philosophy. I've been working on that for the last year or so. So it's been a big project, and it should hopefully be done, be finished by the end of the year. But yeah, if you want any updates on that or any updates on anything else that I'm working on, follow me at Twitter or X or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Twitter. I'm never calling it X for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Damo. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on, and thank you, everybody, for listening. And once again, to shill myself, if you really want to get me a nice birthday present, become a supporter on my website, theotherpaul64.com. Help me turn this into a job. There is so much good content coming. I just recorded yesterday my next video, specifically covering an event I was at for the Sydney Anglican Diocese, where there was discussed what is authentic Anglicanism, and I give a lot of thoughts there, including some special IRL interviews that I have with some young guys there. So keep a lookout for that, and for a lot more content, including and especially for the second part of my Anglican Fundamentals series. And no exaggeration, that is going to be the most autistic and ambitious video of my entire channel since the beginning. No exaggeration, and you'll see why in the future. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day or evening. God bless.
Happy birthday, Paul.